Are we going live now?
I think so, Yatendra, because the broadcasting starts now. That was the message.
No, they will make an announcement, sir. So,
is ASSOCHAM on the line?
Rajoraji, shall we start now?
Yeah, Mr. Mehta, you please start now. We are on live.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. And our request, Mr. Mehta, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rajoraji. And it is my immense pleasure to invite all my distinguished panelists and the participants from India and abroad who have joined this important annual webinar of ASSOCHAM, this 14th International SEZ Investment Summit, Reset of Globalization and the Rising India Opportunity. ASSOCHAM is actually the only chamber which has consistently taken forward the cause of special economic zones in India. Not only that, ASSOCHAM is organizing these summits year after year. Now this is 14th in the series. ASSOCHAM has taken many business delegations abroad in many countries, and ASSOCHAM has helped so many developers also invite foreign investment in India. And in the process, ASSOCHAM has helped actually set up so many special economic zone, and they are able to invite investors from across the globe. And this this way, ASSOCHAM's contribution to this cause of special economic zone has been immense. As all of us are aware that special economic zones, they are important contributor in the GDP of India. And if I was to just simply share some broad numbers, currently we have 423 special economic zones approvals in place, and which out of that 248 are operational. And these 248 special economic zones, so the turnover from these 248 economic zone has been to the tune of 7,96,000 crores rupees in 2019-20, and there have been year after year growth witnessed in these special economic zones. To deliberate on various aspects of this particular theme, we have a galaxy of speakers, starting with my learned chairman, Shri Ravindra Sanna Reddy, and we have distinguished guests of the likes of Shri Alok Vardhan Chaturvedi ji, who is Director General of Export Promotion Council for EOUs and SEZs, Mr. Shrikant Badiga, who is member of Central Governing Council of the Export Promotion Council of EOUs and SEZs, and Dr. L.B. Singhal, who has been actually associated with special economic zones since the inception and is one of the architect of the SEZ policy in India. And we have with us Mr. A. Ramar Mohan Reddy, who is Development Commissioner of Visakhapatnam Special Economic Zone. And we'll be joined by Mr. Hugh Lee Wilwin, who is Head of Property of Admiral Group PLC in UK. Also, we have the privilege of having Mr. Jasveer Singh, who is Chief Development Officer, Arise Integrated Industrial Platforms, Africa. And we will be also having the benefit of company of Mr. R. Muthuraj, who is Development Commissioner of Siri City Special Economic Zone. And then we have Mr. Indra Neel Gupta, my friend and CEO of Ativo Economic Zones Private Limited. And we have a representation from Mahindra World City, Ahmedabad. Mr. Loknathan Nadar will also be joining. So to begin with, we will have this request from all these eminent personalities to speak about the theme, the subject allocated to them. And thereafter, we will have a floor participation. There's a dedicated question answer session of almost 45 minutes. So if there are questions from the audience, I will invite all of them to write their questions in the chat box. We will be taking up questions in the second session, which will be spearheaded by none other than Dr. L.B. Singhal, and I'll be moderating that session as well. So with this, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you once again, and I without any further ado, request our Chairman, National SEZ Council in ASSOCHAM, Mr. Ravindra Sanna Reddy, to address the participants.
Okay. Mr. Rammohan Reddy Garu, Zonal Divisional Commissioner, Visakhapatnam, our own Development Commissioner, Mutturaj Garu, and Mr. Alok Vardhan Chiturvedi Garu, DG EPCS, and our Dr. LB Singhal Garu, former Zonal Development Commissioner, Noida SEZ, many friends from the industry, fellow developers and SEZ unit heads, and all the invited speakers. Very good afternoon to all of you. It is really my privilege to welcome you all for this 14th International Summit on SEZ Investment Summit, the reset of globalization and rising India opportunities. I was part of many of these seminars in the past, and I have to thank Mr. LB Singhal, who is the probably only person among us who has been there for almost every summit of these 14 summits. So welcome you to be part of this 14th also. And it is really in these tough days, it is a most relevant subject, and I think all the eminent speakers are here. And ASSOCHAM, with the support of Export Promotion Council of EOUs and SEZs, has been regularly organizing this annual summit for the last 14 years. India was one of the first few countries in Asia to recognize the effectiveness of the export processing zone model in promoting exports. Asia, and this is the first Asia's first EPZ set up in Kandla in 1965. However, with a view to overcome the shortcomings experienced on account of the multiplicity of controls and clearances, there is some echo. Somebody has to mute. I don't know who's unmuted.
Devices, sir? Have you logged in from 2 devices, or it is only one device that you are logged in?
Somebody is okay. I think now it's clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, however, with a view to overcome the shortcomings experienced on account of the multiplicity of controls and clearances, absence of world-class infrastructure, and an unstable fiscal regime, and with a view to attract larger foreign investments in India, the Special Economic Zones policy was introduced in 2005. Special Economic Zones provide a business-friendly environment wherein it not only attracts foreign companies looking for economic and efficient location to set up their offshore businesses, but it also seeks to enhance the business competitiveness of the unit by providing various fiscal concessions and incentives. Presently in India, 240 SEZs are operational with an infrastructure development of almost 40,000 hectares of land, out of which 22,000 hectares of land is available for immediate establishment of units into SEZs. All the key approvals relating to land titles, environment, and infrastructure development of these SEZs are in place. In addition, there exists an effective single window approval mechanism. Indian SEZs provide direct employment of 2.2 million people and 3 times more in the indirect employment due to backward and forward integration. Investments of over $776 billion has been made so far. The exports from the operational SEZs for the year ended 31st March 2020 stood over $106 billion US dollars. Cost of setting up a unit is very competitive, approximately 20% lesser than non-SEZ locations. All imports into and exports from SEZs are duty free. There is no implication of goods and service tax on these on lease rentals paid by the SEZ units. Moreover, the SEZ units may sell their goods to the Indian marketplace as well as paying applicable customs duties on such goods as such goods are being imported directly into India. In addition, a friendly foreign investment regulatory framework, availability of low-cost labor and raw materials makes the SEZ's best case scenario. These benefits are attractive enough for the investors seeking to move their manufacturing base and services operations into India. SEZs in India have tremendously contributed in terms of boosting exports, increasing foreign and domestic investment flows, creation of world-class infrastructure, and generating of employment opportunities in India. SEZs have also firmly withstood the worst ever global economic meltdown and have shown great meltdown during the economic slowdown. India as a country is endowed with rich and varied resources, and coupled with strategic location and in the South Asian region, and has a vast coastal boundary enabling to achieve a pivotal role in serving the global economy. The SEZs aim to create more public-private partnerships and thereby resulting in the development of the world-class infrastructure, augmenting economic activity, enhancing exports, and creating employment opportunities. In essence, these zones are self-contained and self-integrated zones having their own infrastructure and support services. Now, in the post-COVID-19 scenario, India is accelerating the pace of economic activities and is geared up to welcome global investors to set up business in India, as there is a ready infrastructure and single window mechanism for all business operations. This process will be expedited. At ASSOCHAM, we have best of the experts, like my co-chairman Hitendra, and several other experts and developers who are part of this ASSOCHAM team, and they will respond to any of the queries, and look forward for very effective presentations in the afternoon. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sanna Reddy San. I think you have given a very apt message about the potential of special economic zones and the kind of ready infrastructure available in the country in these operational special economic zones, and coupled with the single window mechanism and the friendly business environment in these special economic zones. I think that all that makes a very good case for special economic zones. I think I take this opportunity now to invite our next guest speaker in this annual summit. We invite Shri Alok Vardhan Chaturvedi ji, who has been Additional Secretary in Ministry of Commerce and has been DGFT as well, and now currently Director General of Export Promotion Council for EOUs and SEZs. In fact, EPCES has been a partner of these ASSOCHAM summits for last several years, and we are so grateful to EPCES for their support and collaborations with ASSOCHAM. So I request Shri Alok Vardhan Chaturvedi ji to kindly address.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta. My colleagues, Dr. Singhal, the veteran, Mr. Reddy, Mr. Muthuraj, Mr. Ravindra Sana Reddy from Sri City and Chairman, National Council on SEZ, ASSOCHAM, Mr. Indranil Das Gupta, Mr. Badiga, Mr. I think Hugh hasn't come yet, isn't it? And Mr. Nader, and of course, Mr. Hitendra Mehta, co-chairman, National Council on SEZ, ASSOCHAM. And I saw Mr. Jasveer Singh was also there. Thank you so much, distinguished members of the audience. Good afternoon. But I just wondered, because this is my first seminar, what is this mode? What is this virtual mode? There's no coffee, no tea. What say, Mr. Sana Reddy, huh? There's no informal discussion, no informal talk, maza nahi aaya kind of thing. Anyway, jokes apart, good afternoon, all the participants. First of all, I'm sure, and I wish you all to be safe and healthy in this difficult time. After retirement as DGFT last year in September, it feels good to be amongst you all again, even if it is virtual, to continue to try resolving exporters' problems as they are continued, as they are many. Thank you so much. Last 1 year has been rather extremely difficult for everybody, more so for the economy, and especially for the exporters, as the entire world got affected and got locked down. My heartiest greeting to the participant of this 14th International Summit on SEZs, which is being jointly organized by ASSOCHAM and EPCES for the last 14 years. I remember, if my memory serves me right, I attended one in 2016 when I was holding charge of Additional Secretary SEZ in 2016. A lot of changes in SEZ rules, thanks to Dr. Singhal and others, have been made in the SEZ rules since then. I'm happy that an apt topic has been taken up for this year's summit, the reset of globalization and rising India opportunity. Friends, true, globalization has been reset, and it has nothing to do with this COVID. Wave of trade liberalization has slowed down. Every economy is trying to protect its market for its own producers, manufacturers, and trying that they should export to other countries. It's slightly negative kind of things when we want to export, but we don't want to import. Other countries want to export to us, but we will not try to discourage them. We would like to manufacture our own. So slightly, it's a negative kind of cycle. Fear of job losses or actual job losses, especially in manufacturing, has taken over the advantages accrued to the consumers and people at large because of liberalization. From the end of the Second World War, tariff followed a downward trajectory that leveled off in both advanced and emerging market economies during the first part of 21st century, but before starting on an upward trajectory again in the recent years. The use of regulatory measures and non-tariff barriers such as export subsidies, restrictions on licensing or foreign direct investment, and domestic clauses in public procurement has increased, leading to an overall surge in trade distortions. According to data from the Global Trade Alert database encompassing traditional and non-traditional trade measures, the number of new discriminatory actions announced by G20 economies has risen steadily since 2012 and surged further in 2018 onwards. Anti-dumping measures and import tariffs were the two most widely used instruments, together accounting for almost 30% of all measures imposed. The use of indirect measures, such as a straight loan to exporting companies, has also increased gradually. This rise in protectionism implies that a progressively larger share of global trade has been affected by trade distortions. Again, data from the Global Trade Alert database show that by 2017, more than 50% of exports from G20 countries were subject to harmful trade measures, up from 20%, just 20% in 2009. So from 20% to 50%. Accordingly, trade growth has also decelerated more sharply in those sectors in which extensive discriminatory measures have been adopted than in sectors that have benefited from trade liberalization. Along with these developments, an important thing to note is that public support for trade openness has declined, which is slightly surprising, because generally public benefits a lot from the open trade, but you can note that now the public support for trade openness has declined while protectionism has increased globally. Perceptions of the risks associated with open trade have added to the broader list of concerns related to globalization. For example, free trade is sometimes believed to have made countries more vulnerable to international crisis and spillovers from abroad. Given its distributional consequences, free trade is also considered to be a factor behind the rising inequality both within and across countries. However, the merits of free trade are also widely recognized. International trade allows countries to specialize in the production of goods in which they have a competitive advantage, while at the same time enabling consumers to enjoy a greater variety of consumption goods. We all remember that way back in 80s, we just used to have 3 cars like Ambassador, Fiat, and we had to wait a lot for a scooter like Lambretta or Vespa. And these days, we are spoiled for choices. Empirical studies have found that trade openness has led to higher income per capita across countries, spurring productivity growth and distribution across social groups, and helping to reduce poverty globally. Nevertheless, the benefits of trade openness and their distribution across social groups vary between countries. Factors such as the nature of institutions, nature of export specialization, the degree of production diversification, and the quality of countries' institutions are found to be important preconditions for the benefit of trade openness to be fully realized. Some also have challenged the benefit of free trade by claiming that unfair practices have damaged domestic growth and job creation. Free trade has also been criticized because some of the countries are putting non-trade barriers, unfair trade practices, and thereby protecting their market at the same time when their own companies reaping the advantage of free trade and fair practices in other countries. Non-tariff barriers and unfair trade practices of some of the countries have distorted the free trade and has led to increasing public support for protectionism. Thus, it is true, globalization has been reset. And it's not a good time for free trade or good time for exports, because unless we import, it's difficult to export also, because we need competition to export in the world-class products in the world market. The globalization has been reset. Has it provided opportunities to India? That's another part of this topic of today's discussion. Opportunities for rising India. Has it provided opportunities to India? Or what? Exports from India or investment in India? Both are good for India. There are 2 aspects to this. In the backdrop of US-China trade tensions, it was thought that it will provide opportunities to India for exports in both countries. Export to China in respect of those products where the tariffs were hiked by China on imports from US, and similarly for export to US in respect of those products where tariffs were hiked by US on imports from China. Products were identified by the ministry and by the exporters also for exports where India has a production capacity and was already exporting to other countries, whether we can increase our exports to US or we can increase our exports to China in those products. But as you know, India has a competition from other countries. It's not like India only, it's a world market. So India has a competition from other countries, neighboring China, for export to US, as some of the products of China could be routed through these countries easily by bypassing the higher tariff by US for imports from China. Similarly, in case of export to China also, for the products being imported from US, there was a competition from the rest of the world, including Latin America, Europe, and other countries. And in China, it is very difficult to start exporting a new product. There's a huge regulatory wall, licensing, approvals. So whether India is able to take advantage of these opportunities, that is increasing export to China and increasing export to US, the jury is still out on this. I hope some of the objective studies will bring out this in greater detail. Second part of the opportunity is that opportunity is created because of the rest of the world's concern against China in the backdrop of COVID, because that started from China. Slightly, there are negative opinion about China in the rest of the world. As has been pointed out in many places, the multinational companies are acting on China plus strategy. They want to have production centers located not only just in China, but they want to have some kind of resilience by having production centers outside China as well. Even Chinese companies also, they would also like to have their bases outside China so that for the longer term sustainability of their businesses. Whether India fits in their plans, again, we have competition from those countries which are neighboring China. They have those characteristics which may be of advantage for these MNCs to invest in those countries than in India. Therefore, for both the opportunities, whether our own companies exporting to US or China or foreign companies setting up their bases in India, we have competition from those China neighboring countries, if I may say so. Our environment for our own companies and also for foreign companies has to be better than the environment in those China neighboring countries in every respect, whether it's Vietnam, Malaysia, Cambodia, South Korea. It has to be better than those countries in every respect. All factors of production, whether it's labor, cost of credit, cost of energy, logistics, regulatory costs, etc., have to be better than that in those countries. And another important thing is that we need to have competition also, which is very important, so that we are able to export world-class products. It is heartening to note that government is trying in all these directions. India's World Bank Ease of Doing Business rank has improved to 63 in 2019 from 142 in 2014. India's impressive progression in the Doing Business ranking over the past few years is a tremendous achievement, especially for an economy that is as large and complex as India's. Special focus have been given by the top leadership of the country and the persistent efforts made to drive the business reform agenda, not only at the central level, but also at the state level, help India make these significant improvements. India's rank in the World Bank's Logistics Performance Index has also improved from 54 in 2014 to 44 in 2018. And you must have also known that recently in July 2020, government has launched production-linked incentive scheme for promotion of domestic manufacturing of critical key starting materials or drug intermediates and APIs. Under the scheme, financial incentives shall be given based on sales made by selected manufacturers for 41 products covering almost all the identified 53 APIs. Outlay of the scheme is about 7,000 crore over the next 6 years. Similarly, in the telecom sector, also the PLI for large-scale electronics manufacturing notified on April 1, 2020 offers a similar production-linked incentive to boost domestic manufacturing and attract large investment in mobile phone manufacturing and specified electronic components. The scheme would also tremendously boost the electronics manufacturing landscape and establish India as the global leader in the electronics sector, and provides incentive of about 4 to 6% on incremental sales over the base years of goods manufactured in India and covered under the target segments for a period of about 5 years. Here, SEZs can play an important role. Special economic zones have been playing the role of engines of economic growth, as Mr. Sana Reddy has rightly pointed out. Our exports have increased, on more so in the case of maybe the manufacturing. It may not have increased to that extent, but even during the COVID times, IT exports have shown growth. In the first quarter of this year, 2021, software and services exports have registered a positive growth of 5% by contributing about more than 1 lakh crore. Of course, merchandise exports have suffered, and they have shown negative growth of 45% as compared to the corresponding period of 2019-20. Though Government of India has provided certain relaxations and exemptions to SEZs during the lockdown period, and further proposals are under consideration, EPCS has taken up a number of requests of its members with the government for consideration. In fact, after taking over SDG EPCS, what I have started is creation of a kind of spreadsheet where all the pending issues of SEZ sectors and of course EOUs also with different authorities, and which the same sheet which we have shared with the Department of Commerce and other authorities, it will be like a ready reckoner for them to see that what are the issues pending from the industry and what is the status. We will be regularly interacting with them. We will be regularly updating the status of those issues. And I would like to open that Google spreadsheet for everybody, all the business, all the SEZ, our members, so that they can also see what is the status of the various issues which are pending with the government. What is the follow-up action has been taken by government. So that is another thing I would like to share with you. So it will be like a ready to-do list for the government and for the EPCS to follow up. And this will be regularly updated. Some of the major issues I know are like permission of sale in DTA on payment of duty waived off during import of raw materials, permission to do job work for DTA, continuation of MEIS scheme you are all aware of, MEIS benefit to apparel and garment sectors units, exemption from health cess of 5% on sale of medical products to in DTA, and exemptions of GST on services rendered and consumed within the FTWZ, etc. We are regularly following up with the government authorities. We have to discuss Baba Kalyani report also on SEZ as well as SEZ, and this has to be developed both with SEZ developers and SEZ units too. The other day I have spoken to Mr. Badiga, and Badiga Ji will be taking up the initiative in this regard. I would also to share the participants here that EPS has also launched an online contact EPCS service whereby any unit or developer facing any difficulty or has any suggestions, he can at any time 24/7 online submit his query suggestions, and he will be given a reference number. My colleagues in DGFT and SEZ, they know about it, that any person can then file their complaints, suggestions, and they will get a reference number by which they can trace it. What is the status? They can monitor that, because sometimes it becomes very difficult to track the emails. I'm happy to see the participation of both the policymakers and the business community. Presence of foreign investors and business is also noteworthy. I hope this summit will provide a better platform to Indian SEZs to showcase the facilities and assistance provided by their SEZs to its client, and thereby attract investment and generate employment for the country and contribute to the export basket of the country. Participants may take advantage of the experience of the speakers from the government and from the trade and industry, and I hope new business and investment window will be opened in India SEZ community. I wish all success to the SEZ Investment Summit and look forward to more such collaboration with ASSOCHAM and other trade bodies to take up SEZ and other issues more effectively. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Alokji. I think you have covered very extensively many micro issues as well as macro issues. I think you have rightly pointed out that there could be protectionist approach amongst countries, but in the end, what we feel that it is the business dynamics that will actually drive these businesses to India. I think we can see that Siri City is such a live example where they have been able to attract almost more than 180 companies from 27 countries. I mean, I think this is all business dynamics that they are able to drive to the investors. I think taking this forward, I'd like to invite Shrikant Badiga ji, my dear friend and member of the Central Governing Council of EPCES. Shrikant Badiga ji, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta. A very good afternoon to every one of you, Mr. Ravi Sanaradi, my guru, L.B. Singhal-ji, Alok Vardhan-ji, our VSZ Development Mr. Ramon Reddy, Mr. Muthiraj, my colleagues from industry, Mr. Indranil, Mr. Hugh, Mr. Nathan, Jaspreet, and all ladies and gentlemen who are participating. Very welcome all of you. I would like to take off from where Sri Alakvardhan Chaturvedi sir was talking with global perspective. So 14 years, congratulations to ASSOCHAM for organizing this 14th year of SEZ conference. I didn't miss. Earlier I was a part of the audience, and now I'm in part of the speaker. So you can just gauge the kind of momentum that special economic zones has, and it is a purely game changer. That is what we look at it as ITSZ developers. Now, talking about a global perspective, like even we as a developer go to any country want to invest, when we look at the export policies, any country you look there, you see only one policy, one country, one policy. Same thing I'm insisting here also. When I was part of Baba Kalyani committee report, when I talked to seniors like Singhal Sahab and everyone, I request them, sir, why don't you have only one particular act, like one nation, one tax? Why don't you have only one particular act? This is that act. All your export schemes, everyone. Let us not confuse the investors. Let it be a small investor, a big investor. The exporter is an exporter. So why don't we bring entire thing under one SEZ act only? Let us not see what is happening is most of the people are and my colleague developers also been getting confused, because all of a sudden you one fine day you see revenue department is also coming up with some kind of export policy, export schemes, which is not at all healthy. See, it is like becoming a competition between a policy and policy, our own policies, which should give a bigger hindrance to for the investors. That is number one. I would like to. I'm trying to be a bit direct, keeping the paucity of the time and all. So next particular point, we're talking about even the government is looking at how these SEZs have been, because the main intention of developing SEZ for the manufacturing industry. Yes, we can certainly learn from CCT the way they develop. Why can't be there more number of CCTs? We need to examine that part of rank instead of just thinking of reducing SEZs or scrapping of SEZs. That is not the thing. Every country you talk about when you want to compete yourself globally, we should have economic zones. Without economic zones, I'm telling you, I don't think the exports economy will not survive. You go to smallest country like Poland also, they come up with an export policy. Incentive is the second thing. But India is a wonderful country. The kind of resources you have. You talk about natural resources. You talk about human talent. You talk about infrastructure development. In the last 5 years, you can see the kind of development which has happened. You talk about seaways. You talk about railways. You talk about roadways, airways. The connectivity is there in India. India is a beautiful country. I know the central government is also coming up with the Atmanirbhar scheme. So there are many such schemes which are encouraging the entrepreneurs. Talking about the export industry, nothing different from those things. So this kind of environment, when you have entrepreneurial environment, any investor would be willing to come and invest in India. So what I'm trying to say, you have a very good investment-friendly environment created in India. Coming back to what do we do here? So how people look at it is, as it is India, because of the population, we have a dual advantage. Like the moment you produce in India, you can sell in India. At the same time, you can sail from India because of the geographical positioning. You can send to the Far East Asian nation, Middle East, and the Europe also. So that is number one. Number two, India is a friend. In the recent past, you can see our Prime Minister traveling to each and every country. The kind of bilateral relationship developing all the countries. The US is depending on India. That is a very good sign. Very soon, we are going to see as India emerging as superpower. In such case, what is our preparedness? Our preparedness should be totally depends upon the government policies. So SEZ is one such act where we need to request the government to encourage SEZs, take case studies from like CCT kind of a thing, come up with more number of CCTs in India, which is possible. Make smaller special economic zones, multi-product SEZ, because even in as Alakvardhan sir has said, like there are chances of Chinese company, American, other countries established in China, they may come out of China, but there should be some kind of some attractive point in India and a good reason for the investors to shift to India, because immediately after the moment you come out of China, you have the nearest country like Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Korea. All these countries are coming in competition for you. So they have, and Thailand also. You'd be surprised, Thailand now, which is supposed to be a tourist place, now it is coming with special economic zone policies. So we see, we need to, when we look at SEZ, kind of, when we talk about SEZ, I need to be outside and look at India. What is there in India? What do I am supposed to do, and what to encourage more and more exports? Unless until foreign investment comes, any region, no region will develop. So as per the main motive, like Singhal Sabhan, when people are drafted, they looked at regional development and employment. These are the two axes. The third one is exports. Our government interest is, revenue interest is money, but as a nation, our interest is regional development, employment, and exports. So this has happened. So this is in the game changer. And see, when we're talking about EOs and only export processing zones, hardly any exports has happened, hardly any employment has happened. Now just look at, just compare 10 years from 10 years down the line, what has happened. So what I'm trying to say is, through ASSOCHAM and through seniors like LB Singhal Saab and Alagvardhan Chidri Saab, we need to present to government the healthier point of this special economic zones. I'm not talking about IT SEZ. See, even if WTO comes and says some kind of impinges, no, should not be developing manufacturing. Says, why not we develop more number of IT SEZ? India can also be a service in the service-driven economy. What's wrong in that? So the kind of development is happening in Gurgaon and Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, all the IT cities, enormous development. So one way or other way, FDI is coming. Let us welcome that. So I would like to conclude by saying to recommend to the government to have one nation, one SEZ Act only, one export policy only, whatever it might be. Similarly, and encourage special economic zone and don't put it to national debt. Thank you once again, Mr. Mehta, for giving me this opportunity. Ravindra Sanadisa from ASSOCHAM. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Badigaji. I think you have raised an important point. Initially, when we did not have Special Economic Zone Act, like from 2000 to 9 February 2006, if I was to say, I think these were operating through foreign trade policies, and then there were piecemeal amendments in various acts. And this system did not lend enough confidence amongst the investors. And that was the time when the government thought of having a legislation to deal with the special economic zones. And the idea of bringing Special Economic Zone Act was just to instill confidence amongst the international investors and to provide a single enactment to deal with the special economic zones. But I think with the passage of time, the SEZ Acts also got diluted because of many changes midway in the policy. So be it changes relating to minimum alternate tax, dividend distribution tax, and now sunset clause, or similarly there were introduction of GST, for example. Ideally, after introduction of GST, there should have been amendment in the Special Economic Zones Act, but that has not been carried out so far. And in the SEZ Act, the old provisions of exemptions from central excise, sales tax, they continue to appear in the Special Economic Zone Act. The government has only made some changes in the rules, which is, I think, not the proper way of handling the situation. I think, being a person from legal background, I can actually vouch that, I mean, they need to first amend the Special Economic Zone Act. And I think this representation has already been given. And we are waiting, like, when this representation is acceded to and acted upon by the government. So now, taking this discussion forward,
Mehtaji, in spite of so many entrances, there is a success story in this SEZ. In spite of that, in spite of inconsistency, I didn't want to quote about the inconsistency of policy, but still, in spite of that, we are successful. That is the beauty of our country and
we'll be sharing the success stories also, and we'll be sharing the fact sheet also of Special Economic Zone since 2006 during the course of our discussions. I think to take this discussion forward, I would like to now invite Dr. LB Singhal, the architect of Special Economic Zone policy. And when we talk of single window mechanism, actually, I in a lighter note, I say single window mechanism, and actually is the person who has been able to showcase and demonstrate to the business community that SEZs are there for business, and they are for the India, and they are for economic development in India. Singhal Saab, I request you to kindly address the participants.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hitendra Mehta, Mr. Sanna Reddy, Chairman, SEZ Council, Mr. Hitendra Mehta, Vice co-chairman of the council, Mr. Alok Vardhan Chaturvedi, DG EPCS, other colleagues on the panel, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm really happy to be the part of this SEZ International Conference. I also compliment ASSOCHAM and EPCS for organizing this 15th conference. Since it is a SEZ Investment Summit, I would like to confine myself to basically issues relating to the SEZ. I would like to address myself 3 questions. When we are talking about today in the context of reset of globalization and investment opportunities, then I would be talking in the context of SEZ, and 3 questions I would like to put to myself. First, why should an investor, whether in India or internationally, invest in the SEZ? If it is in the SEZ, why in the Indian SEZ? And third is that in the post-COVID situation, Indian SEZ, what kind of opportunities which we have for encashing these opportunities? Now coming to the first question, why SEZ? Last year, World Investment Report was brought about by UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. They brought about World Investment Report 2018, and this report was unveiled in Bangkok. I had the opportunity of participating in this interaction on behalf of India. And in this study, it comes out very clearly that SEZ as a concept, which may be known by various names, SEZ, EPZ, or whatever it may be, export processing zones or free trade zones, but SEZ as a concept is being practiced in 147 countries. There are 5,400 SEZs in operation world over. And this report comes out very clearly that this concept is gathering momentum every year. They are expecting another almost 500 SEZs to be in operation in next 1 year or so. And the reason is quite simple. That is a globally recognized concept. It's basically the parameters are the same. SEZ is operating in a bonded area. You are able to import your raw material without payment of duty. You are able to import your capital goods without payment of duty. You make your products, you export it, and you can sell in the domestic market also. And in case you sell in the domestic market, you pay the duties. Broadly, it's a concept. In between, the income tax exemption is also given, and the periodicity of that varies from one country to another country. So that is how why SEZ. And in fact, this report also gives a beautiful analysis that it gives a ladder of growth of SEZs. That SEZs, how it starts from the basic manufacturing SEZ, then to the service sector SEZs, and then it's to value-added service SEZ, and then to coming to the logistics SEZ, those kind of things. Now coming to India, in case one is deciding to come into the SEZ, why should one come in the Indian SEZ? And if one has to see it, one has to see the progress made by Indian SEZs. As Mr. Sanna Reddy stated in the beginning, we were the first in the Asia to start with this concept in 1965. We started with the EPZ concept. We operated that for 35 years as a EPZ up to 2000. At that time, export was just around $2 billion. We made SEZ policy incorporated as a part of export-import policy in the year 2000, operated as a part of export-import policy for 5 years. Export in the year 2005 was around $5 billion. We enacted SEZ Act in 2005, made it operational in 2006. See, since then, exports have gone up from $5 billion in 2006 to $112 billion last year. Investment have gone up from less than $1 billion in 2005 to more than $75 billion last year. Employment, I'm talking about the direct employment, has gone up from 145,000 people to around 2.2 million people directly working, and indirect employment is almost 3 times of that number. So, and if we see the kind of infrastructure which have been created in these SEZs, absolutely world class. Specifically, if you see some of the IT sector SEZs, these are world class infrastructure which has been able to create. And then if you see the package which has been provided in the SEZ, it's a comprehensive package and competitive to any such package provided in the world. You get duty-free raw material, you get duty-free import of the capital goods. GST has been implemented in the country. This is the only scheme in the country wherein ab initio exemption from IGST has been provided, whether it's a import or domestic procurement. IGST exemption is provided for. 100% FDI is allowed through the automatic route. Even those items which are subjected to industrial licensing, very few of them are there. There also the approval can be given by the Board of Approval. Single window mechanism, SEZs are approved by the Board of Approval in Ministry of Commerce. All the approvals in respect of the units are given by the approval committee meeting in the SEZ, which is headed by the Development Commissioner and members of all other departments, customs, income tax, DGFT, state governments, they are the member of it. Compliance post and the compliance regulations, if you see in the SEZ, that is absolutely minimal. If you compare yourself when you are operating in the SEZ vis-a-vis when you are operating the domestic tariff area, and if you see the kind of approvals which you have taken, factory approval, and all other kind of approvals, whereas in the SEZ you just go make an application to the Development Commissioner, application comes up for the UAC, the space is allotted there and then, and you start your operation. In fact, we have got the standard design factory, wherein specifically I'm talking about the MSMSs, wherein it's a standard design factory, ready space is there, approval is given, and it's absolutely start operations. You can go, the electricity, power, security, everything is there. Your customs officers are posted in the zone, your import, export clearances are provided in the zone itself. So if you see in this entirety, the SEZ concept that really provides an absolutely huge opportunity for SEZ, and that has been proved successfully in the figures, whether it's in terms of export, investment, employment. In fact, had we not imposed MAT in 2011, which we did, which was provided exemption in 2005, and which we imposed 2011, I'm sure probably instead of $112 billion exports, we probably would have been looking at $200 billion. And the investment which we have around $75 billion, probably we would have been talking about $100 billion. That apart. Now, coming to third question of myself, post-COVID, where does the SEZ stand? In fact, I'm a little disappointed that when we see the discourse today, then we do not find that kind of emphasis which should be given to the SEZ in today's present conditions. On the contrary, I would presume that SEZ is the best opportunity it offers. You see, we have in the SEZ 20,000 hectares developed vacant land, wherein approval can be given through the single window mechanism, where the package provided is quite comprehensive. When the industrialists from other countries, whether it's from Japan or China or from US, they are looking to relocate in this reset of globalization. I presume SEZs in India, they offer the best bet in the post-COVID situation. 20,000 hectares developed land, that's something very big plus. We have got those qualities, a boundary land, your custom clearances, everybody is there over. Yes, there are certain issues. I'm fully aware of that. And as Mr. Chaturvedi also mentioned that these issues have been taken up and Department of Commerce is looking into those issues. Specifically, the IT sector, they have done very well in the SEZs. The contribution of the IT exports in Indian SEZs have been increasing gradually, and today it stands at around 58%. Whereas manufacturing sector, that is around 42%. We need to take care of certain concerns of manufacturing sector SEZs. And one of the prominent issues is that when they are selling the goods from SEZ to DTA, as on today, such goods are subjected to full duty on the finished product. We need to bring the concept of duty forgone. They need to be asked to pay duty which has been foregone on the inputs at the earliest possible. We need to provide them the facility of job work on behalf of the DTA. In the respect of IT sector, we need to take care of their one important requirement of amendment in the section 2Z of the SEZ Act, which is that if they are selling services in the DTA, then it has got to be against free foreign exchange. That needs to be done away with. This is already there on the agenda of Department of Commerce, and I believe this would be done at the earliest possible. If we have the next session in which we will be taking up your questions, detailed questions, whatever questions you have, I'll be available on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Singhal sir. I think you have given very wide perspective on so many aspects of special economic zone and why it is a best case for investment in the post-COVID scenario as well. So without taking much time now, I think Mr. Hugh has also joined. So just want to check whether he's or we can hear him. Hi, Hugh. Your voice is not coming. Can I ask IT team to please unmute you? Yeah. You can hear.
Hi,
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I just wanted to do a test check. Now I take this opportunity to request our next guest speaker, Mr. A. Rama Mohan Reddy, who is Development Commissioner of Visakhapatnam Special Economic Zones. So, Mr. Reddy, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Rather, it is good evening. I introduce myself as ARM Reddy, very new to the concept of SEZs. We have got very senior officers here, and I welcome all the members of ASSOCHAM, especially Mr. Ravi Sanna Reddy, Hitendra Mehta ji, then all other distinguished people here, including my colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, and our foreign dignitaries who are sitting with us, distinguished gathering here. And please, this is the first time I'm joining your webinar. That is, unlike the others have attended, Srikanth Badiga and other people have attended all the 14 seminars. This is the first time. Thank you for giving me this opportunity of joining you in this. And my earlier speakers, including Mr. Dr. L.B. Singhal and all other senior people, have talked a lot about SEZs. So just to break the monotony, I'll be sharing one of my presentation with you, and that, of course, whatever has been covered, I'll quickly push through. And only thing is that I want to impress upon you that despite all issues, SEZ has something special to share with you. And I need not tell you about all the benefits of SEZs, what they are doing. And the concept of SEZs is very old to India. Almost it's 55 years old when it started in Kandla in 1965. And of course, VSEZ has started very late in the year 1989. And as a very small central government run SEZ spread over 360 acres. That's the smallest one, and still is in very good shape. And my predecessors have been managing it very well. And probably I'm the youngest in the group here in the sense of SEZ's concept and the commerce concept. Thank you. If there is anything missing from my side, please kindly bear with me. I'll be sharing my presentation here. Quickly go through it. Yeah, these are administrative building of VSEZ. It's spread over in a very excellent lawns and attracts all the foreigners. In the recently, Chinese people came and they were highly impressed with the premises that is being maintained in Vizag. This is the entry to our special economic zone. One of the 60 SEZs presently operational in Visakhapatnam special economic zone. You can see it's well managed and well preserved, and it's in a very typical textbook type of SEZ, and you can see it's fully controlled. Its entry and exit, everything are fully controlled. I need not go into the definition part. Everybody knows that. I thought that I'm given to understand that I would be like we will be asked to showcase the investment opportunities, case of ease of doing business and manufacturing facilities in various SEZs. I come prepared with that to tell the people about what we have got in Visakhapatnam and in the state of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Chhattisgarh, and where we are operating as VSEZ. And all of you know that Ireland is the first initiative in the world to the concept of EPZs. And secondly, the Kandla has come as the second one in the world, and rather first in the Asia in 1965, and VSEZ started its journey after 24 years in 1989. This is a very artistic view of an SEZ. Everybody will appreciate it. It's well connected by all modes of transport, whereby it can be very easily access everything, exports and imports and everything. And this of Ireland, its location where it is, and a very small country which has started the concept of export processing zones. And I need not tell again that it's basically to attract the foreign direct investment. We have got plenty of investments coming into India through SEZs, and everybody knows that it can be set up jointly or severally by anybody. And for all these purposes, and a single window, as told by Mr. Singhal, a 19-member interministerial SEZ board accords the approval. Our basic objective is to have the economic activity, export of goods, investment, employment, and infrastructure. We have been mostly successful in all these aspects. Almost we have completely succeeded in the SEZ. That you will come to know when I show few of these slides. I'm being from engineering background, I'll depend more on the facts and figures and also on the graphs and presentations to impress you upon that SEZs have been doing very well and will continue to do that despite the circumstances arising in the country. And of course, India is no less than China and Philippines, and it takes third place in the world. And these are the area requirements. Now the government of India has reduced the area norms to facilitate all the investors. And you can see that some of the areas, food and agriculture, can even be set up on 10 hectares. All these things will facilitate setting up of new SEZs very fast, and the numbers are increasing very fast. And you can see so far, the government of India has set up 7 zones and state government 12 and private entrepreneurs 234. And presently, as per the dashboard of Ministry of Commerce, we have got 253 operational SEZs in the country. And we know that developers, they've got all freedom to allocate space, provide and maintain services, and to appoint co-developers. And I'm basically focusing on this, thinking that there are a number of people who wants to really invest, also come and join the SEZ community and invest. And benefits, of course, I'm not going into that, duty-free imports and zero-rated GST and everything, as Mr. Singhal had highly elaborated everything. And coming to direct tax benefits, of course, we have lost these income tax benefits from March of this year. But fortunately, and all those which have been approved prior to 31st March 2020, and all those units which commence their operations before 30th of September will get enjoy all the benefits. And all those units which are operational prior to 31st March will continue to enjoy these benefits till they complete 15 years of term. And coming to an overview of SEZs, I'm not going to much details again here. And you can see that there are 423 approvals were given and 253 are operational, and we have got 5258 operational units here, and our area spread over is 48,044 hectares. You can see employment figures 22.33 and investment 5.21 lakh crores. And see, you can see the exports are constantly increasing. I've taken only the figures of last 4 years. Nowhere there is a break or nowhere there is flattening of the curve, and it's going up. And last year, say in 1920, it has recorded a growth of 12.24% when the whole world was facing economic recession, and even the country was also facing the economic recession other than in SEZs. And if you look at the list of operational SEZ, it's just to tell you, we are still, due to IT SEZs, we are lucky that we are in the top and we hold 60 SEZs out of 253 in the country. And see, these figures we have taken to impress upon the Honorable Commerce and Industries Minister in the last meeting recently, and to tell him that SEZs are performing very, very well. We were trying to impress him. Just to show you the figures here, the general exports from the country, you can see in the last 5 years have increased only by 1.49%, which includes, of course, SEZs. But the SEZs, if you take it separately and see how the growth rate of exports is going on, you can see we have recorded a 51.2% growth. You can see the lower chart pertains to that. And in VSCZ, the exports in the last 16 years have increased by 220 times. If you just imagine, starting from 2005-06, like Mr. Singhal said, it has, I'm mentioning here only in crores rupees, and 22,800 crores to 7,96,000 crores in 2019-20. You can see there was a slight recession in 12-13, after 12-13, but still it has picked up. The curve is going fast up only. Coming to my own zone, Visakhapatnam Special Economic Zone, spread over AP, Telangana and Chhattisgarh and Yanam, we have got 60 operational SEZs, and the zone has achieved. Here I would like to share with you, with the help of IT industry, in Telangana. So we have achieved the tremendous exports. The achievements last year were to the exports were last year were to the tune of almost near 1 lakh crore. And we have achieved an export growth of 32.79% compared to the previous year, the highest among all the SEZs of the country in terms of export growth. I am not saying total quantum, and we have got investment so far of 56,000 crores, and employment is almost 3,80,000 on regular basis. As told by everybody, the indirect will be 2 to 3 times more. And even during the COVID, the lockdown period, the VSCZ has achieved an exports of 34,700 crores till last week, 25th August. And we have recorded a growth of 11.72% so far. And I tell you here, like Mr. Singhal said, or Dr. Alok said, that the merchandise had come down. It's quite fortunate and surprising to note that in VSCZ, even the merchandise has recorded an increase of 10.5%, and similarly, software services increased 12.32%. And I tell you, the country has recorded up to June 1,52,900 crores of exports. And these are all 10 top SEZs in terms of employment, the highest being Sundew, Divyasri, Phoenix, and other things, where Srikant Badiga is also sitting here. And it's not correct that SEZs are not attracting investors for the obvious reasons. You can see that in VSCZ last year, we have approved 90 SEZs. 90 SEZs you can see, and investment figures are given, and estimated exports and employment generation are also given. These are all the performance figure of last 4 years. You can see the VSCZ exports, how sharply it is raising after 2009-10, and it has not stopped. And the last year, 2019-20, was the highest growth you can see. And these are the sector-wise exports. We are fortunate in Visakhapatnam Special Economic Zone. Our majority of the exports come from SEZs of IT, and then chemical and pharma, and then a little from miscellaneous trading and food and agriculture. Textile is only 2% we get it. And SEZs are really truly employment. People are asking for focus on employment. We are doing it very well, from 2,50,000 to 3,79,000. And even investments are shooting up very well after 2017-18. And these are individual SEZ wise exports last year. And you can see Infosys has achieved the highest, and it is maintaining its trend last year, this year also, and prior to that 2018-19 also. Even this year they have increased. We have got our Dr. Ravi Sennareddy with us. You can see some of the successful SEZs. One among them is Sri City, a good model of SEZ. And there are a number of SEZs which are performing very well. Like we have got Brandix, Ramki, and even we don't put VSCZ lower. Despite it's a government SEZ, we are in a respectable position above that of Brandix last year. These are the successful SEZs of Telangana. Coming to VSCZ, you can see 71% of our exports come from computer and software, and then chemicals and pharmaceutical. Then I have already explained the food and agriculture. I'll take out one each in 2 lines to tell how they are performing. ITS contributes 71% of exports, and there are 30 number of SEZs with that. And the biggest achiever in terms of exports, 68,000 crores. And the exports, you can see up to date during this year is also almost 23,000 crores and recorded a growth of 12%, 12.32%. And employment is tremendous. Despite lockdown, all of they are working from home. Almost 2.9 lakh personnel are work from home, and that's where our secret lies in achieving our exports still continuing. We are at the top among all the 7 SEZs of the country in achieving the positive exports. The only SEZ which is achieving positive exports. And Infosys, as I have told you, has recorded a net growth of 21% even during the COVID crisis now. And second is chemical and pharmaceutical sector. We have got, see, the contribution is only 16% last year, but this year we have recorded a growth of 32.7%. It has crossed even the ITS contribution, and we have got 58 units. We have got all the world-class pharma giants in Ramki, APSC Pharma, Jetcharla, Aurobindo, Divis Reddy's, and you can name any giant pharma unit is there in VSCZ. And exports during last year was 15,000 crores. Fortunately, we have achieved half of that in just 4 months now. In 4.5 months, we have achieved 7,400 crores. And employment is also not bad. Equally, it is near to 20,000. The biggest achievement is that during the COVID times, our people were working day and night to supply HCQs, hydroxychloroquine, to all the foreign countries like USA, Johannesburg, Singapore, Malawi, all these countries. Coming to last month, textile and garment sector, its of course contribution is only 2%, but you can see that its exports last year was 1,677 crores, and growth prior to that year, that is 18-19 comparison, 2019-20 has seen a growth of 87%. Fortunately, unfortunately, during COVID, there was complete shutdown of the brandings, and it has recorded a negative growth of 27%. And there are 15 operational units, and brandings, you can see that it has come into existence in it is another successful model of an SEZ, and it's completely foreign FDI, foreign direct investment of Sri Lanka, and there are 16 units operational, and exports were 1641 crores. This is the only one which is major in VSCZ among the textile and garments, and provides employment to 21,000 people. The biggest distinction here is 85% of them are women, and 90% of these women are from rural background, spread over 650 villages surrounding a radius of 50 kilometers. And employment generation now is, even during COVID, they are employing 10,900. I'll quickly pass through. This is an Apache, another leather oriented sector, and it makes 1.5 crore trades every year, and employs 11,000 employees, and achieves export last year of 1,000 crores almost. Now, despite COVID, almost 7,000 employees are deployed and are working with. They have not lost their employment, and exports even during COVID is 241 crores compared to last year. They have achieved exports just less by 7% compared to last year, and we hope we will achieve it completely. Then coming to Sri City, I will not tell much about it. It's a successful model of private SEZ. Our Dr. Muthuraju is there, who will be speaking, I think, about Sri City, and I'll take another 2-3 minutes more. This is about VSCZ, set up in 1989, has got 65 operational SEZs, and achieves an investment of 1626 crores, and exports are to the tune of 1641 crores. Surprisingly, I tell you, during the COVID, here the exports were to the tune of 510 crores, and Reddy's Lab and other certain pharma units have achieved their exports 3 times compared to the last year. And we have got still plenty of spaces at very affordable prices. This is what Mr. Dr. Lalit Singhal was saying. It is about SDF buildings. We have got, unfortunately, some of them are still vacant due to these Chinese people have stopped coming to these, despite we could sell out all these things prior to this issue of all these COVID and other things. They have stopped coming here, and the whole building was given to them for making world-class toys from here, but that they have backed out. And these are the industrial sheds. Almost VSCZ is completely occupied, and these are the trading sheds, almost completely occupied. Hardly one is remaining. These are vacant plots which are come up with beautiful structures here. And during lockdown, the last phase of my lecture here, my address here is that we have broadbanded to cope up with the conditions. We have given approval for some of the units which are not performing, like apparel and garments, and 7.8 crore permission under broadbanding for making face masks, face shields, PPE kits, and they are doing very well. Of course, they are supplying very well, but still they have to pick up a lot. And despite COVID, we have made almost 99.6% of our SEZ units operational within just a short span of 1 month. And I tell you that 23.42% of the staff are only working from our SEZs. And I still say that there is a lot of scope for SEZs. If you look at the achievements of VSCZ, and we are very happy that our achievements during this year is almost, in the COVID also, 12% growth recorded. I request the admin to revert me back to the SEZ. Thank you. All the participants have taken a little bit of more time, but it was very much required to impress upon everybody that SEZs are outperforming the other normal units outside the SEZs, DTA, and we have got a very sanctity and they are nicely performing. And thank you, Mehtaji and all other Sanna Reddy garu for giving me this opportunity to just put forth my whatever I have observed in BSc. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Rama Mohan Reddy sir. Actually, it is so heartening. I was wondering that it is a presentation of a private sector representative, but then the way you presented, I mean, you have so impactfully presented Visakhapatnam Special Economic Zone. I think some participants they get enormously benefited, and you very aptly showcased your VSCZ. I think it also makes me tempted to visit again. I last visited in 2012. I think when COVID situation settles, maybe we'll have another chance to visit VSCZ.
Most welcome. I was inspired by Mr. Ravi Sanna Reddy also. First city I visited, but now we are competing with them as VSCZ. We are competing with them.
That's great. Great.
In fact, Mr. Mehta, I also had the opportunity of visiting Sri City SEZ in this region. And it's a wonderful SEZ which has come up in 7,500 acres of the land. And this is one SEZ in which I have been like, Mr. G.K. Pillai was the Commerce Secretary at that point of time. I visited along with Mr. G.K. Pillai in the beginning when it started, and when the ground laying ceremony was there, that time also I was there. So if you see the kind of SEZ this has come up, this is really an example of successful stories of our SEZ.
Singhal sir, I request you to visit our SEZ also once. Now we have made it a green SEZ, totally green SEZ.
Certainly.
No, I just a small observation. I also visited this Sri City when I was there in Chennai, so I just went along with my DC over there. The important thing which Sri City is having is there is a SEZ, and surrounding that SEZ there is a DTA. That is the concept. I think even in the report for the future of SEZ, where the units will have a choice about that they can have set up in DTA as well as in SEZ also, and then they can, depending upon the business, they can support that. So this is a unique thing which is there in the City, because they have a larger ecosystem, which maybe in most of the other places it might not be there. And this is maybe, I don't know, Mr. Sanna Reddy will be able to tell that this is one of the reasons also that they are performing very well. I don't know. I'm just seeing that it's a good concept that having it just across that is land for the DTA also, where the units can be set up there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. I think we are running 20 minutes late. So let us see how we divide this amongst the remaining speakers. So now I take this opportunity to invite Mr. Hugh Lee Wellin, who is our guest from United Kingdom, UK, and just to share with you that Admiral Group has 4 special economic zone units in India, and they have been here, I think, since 2009. I'd request Hugh to please make his presentation.
Thanks, Attinder. Hi, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank ASSOCHAM, Attinder, fellow panelists, and all of the dignitaries, and of course the audience today for inviting me to the summit. Thank you. This is my second attendance here as a panelist and a speaker. I feel honoured to be here once more. Of course, I'd love to be there with you all in person, enjoying the social aspect of work and relationships together. And as Luke said earlier, something as simple as a cup of coffee together would be a fantastic luxury right now. I'd like to talk about our experience as a global company and the SEZ in India. India is no doubt a land of opportunities, and we at Admiral engaged in this back in 2009. We started with a 6-member technology team to support our Spanish price comparison site. The team is now 250 people. That also encouraged us to establish 2 other units of high-end customer service set up to support our European insurance business. We have now more than 600 employees in those 2 units as well. So we're getting close to 900 staff in Delhi right now. These form part of 9,000 employees globally for us as Admiral Group. While doing this over the last 10 or 12 years, we've experienced various processes in respect of SEZ regulations, and we have a few mixed feelings about that. Most of them are good, but there's some areas for improvement. The policy would be as good as its implementation is. However good a policy may be, if it is not implemented properly, it would not bring the desired results of the policy. While we find the SEZ officials to be very helpful, the processes needed to be regularly revisited more frequently to make these more time efficient and business friendly. In this context, I must say that my experience with Dr. L.B. Singhal, who's been a business friendly regulator, has been very good and very proactive. I think India needs more passionate people like him to promote investment in the Indian SEZs, which some of you there have already spoken about today. I'm told he has superannuated now, and Mr. R.P. Gold has taken over as Development Commissioner of Noida SEZ as his successor. My best wishes to both Mr. Gold and Dr. Singhal in the future. A few areas I'd like to point out. Unit approval application processes take anything from 4 to 8 weeks. And 2 months seems a long time for routine approvals. Expansion within the same SEZ and expansion in a different SEZ and shifting from one unit to another in another SEZ can take anything up to 12 weeks. And sometimes this needs board of approval. Since these are very frequent and reoccurring and natural requirements of businesses, can't we standardize this process and have the SEZ developer take ownership of the preliminary vetting of the application before its submission by the SEZ developer to the SEZ office? The developer should be made to have an established and highly engaged team who should regularly and proactively interact within the jurisdiction of the SEZ office to update themselves and us as an end user. Once the SEZ developer is vetted, which should take no more than 4 or 5 working days, the SEZ office should not take more than another 4 or 5 working days to confirm back that all documents are in order. Within 1 week thereafter, the applicant would receive the communication on disposal of their application. Status of the unit's application would be made available online, and the units would be allowed to submit the required information also online. This would allow things to move a lot quicker and seamlessly. My request is this: to address these issues, the provisions of deemed approval should be built in. There should be time-bound disposal of applications, and if the approvals are not issued within a given time frame, the same should be deemed to have not been granted. Sorry, to have been granted. Not only would this help making the Indian SEZ scheme more attractive, but also improve India's ranking and ease of doing business. I'm told that the Reserve Bank of India has some way delegated its various compliance functions to the authorised dealer banks, and that's helped them. Whenever expansion to another SEZ or shifting to another SEZ is involved, it's a very time-consuming process. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time. Starting from taking approval from the UAC or the DC, and even the BOA, as the case may be, to actual shift and an expansion taking place, which requires debonding by customs, payment of customs duties on even left out items, including permanent fixtures and fittings, taking no objection from customers, and then executing a bond come legal undertaking. You understand what I mean. If the matter goes to the BOA and the matter is to be approved on file, the units are not allowed to take up matters directly. The status of the application is updated on, nor is the status of the application updated on any website. The units have absolutely no idea about the status of their application, and this causes confusion and delays and adds to that feeling of things not being a seamless process. This goes back to the point of ease of doing business in India. There should be clear procedural guidelines for such recurring business-related requirements. It's everyday business for most of us. Further customs duty should be only leviable on items those that are being actually moved by or from the SEZ unit from one SEZ into another. It is a good thing that the application filings and filers of monthly and annual performance reports have switched to an online mode. This has been very helpful, much appreciated by everybody involved, and creates a seamless process. For minor insignificant delays and non-compliances, like delay in filing of soft X forms, there are additional fees levied as a deterrent instead of making the unit go to RBI for compounding. For example, a particular additional fee or levy could be imposed for delay up to 3 months. Higher additional fees could be imposed for delay from 3 to 6 months. Again, you understand the idea. Dr. L.B. Singhal mentioned in his speech, and I echo his sentiments, post-COVID-19 there will be many business restructuring cases. We are already seeing this. It's active. It's happening around us right now. In my experience, the SEZ policy does not have much flexibility in this regard, and it needs to be proactive in this. It takes a very long time in approving such cases. India can take lead if it allows foreign entities to acquire existing SEZ units or partner with existing SEZ units in a fast track mode and keep their tax holdings intact, in line with its FDI policy that allows majority of the foreign investment cases under automatic route. To conclude, a stable SEZ policy framework is desirable to keep momentum going forward. Too many changes in between are difficult to manage in a large business. And we have resource. In a small business, it must be even worse. Whenever significant policy changes are made, such as tax incentives, our business projections go haywire due to midway policy changes. It's difficult to work with, and it could be so much simpler and easier. That's it from my side. Again, I'd like to thank ASSOCHAM, the panel, and all of you for listening to me today. And importantly, I'd like to thank Dr. L.B. Singhal for everything you have done for us and myself as a business. Thank you very much for your time. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Hugh. I think you are an expert on SEZ now, so you've raised so many issues that I think you must be facing while running your units in India. I think you read so many relevant issues, and we have regulators also here. I'm sure that they have taken note of those issues, and when they make some policy adjustments subsequently in future, so they will be taking care of them. And we at ASSOCHAM also will be making these representations to the government.
Thank you.
Just a small thing. I would request Hugh. I just got his phone number. Could you please just? I will just share my email. Could you just share your whatever you have said? It was very interesting points, which there's no problem that the government should not do it. It is nothing that we have to go to the finance department, or it can be done by the Department of Commerce, some kind of delegation. I will just take it up with Commerce Secretary and the Minister's office. So could you please just email? I know something I noted, but it would be better if you can just send me a small email raising these issues, and we will just take it up.
Yes, sure. I've got some notes here, and we'll pull it together into something more concise for you. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you.
We will connect you with Mr. Hugh, and Hugh, that's Mr. Alok Chaturvedi, who is Director General of Export Promotion Council for EOUs and SEZs, and he is the right man for taking up the issues. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I take this opportunity to invite our next speaker. Is from Africa, Mr. Jasveer Singh. He is Chief Development Officer, Arise Integrated Industrial Platforms in Africa. I think before his presentation, we have a film, I suppose. I think so. Can I ask our?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mehta, and good evening to the fellow panelists, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the viewers, depending on which part of the globe they are watching it from. So I have a YouTube video first. So basically, Arise is a Africa-based group. Mute.
born in Africa in 2010 with a vision to empower African economies and generate jobs whilst keeping Mother Nature and our share forever swimming. We don't just build infrastructure to achieve our vision. We create ecosystems that empower communities, governments, and economies to solve problems. Like we did in Gabon, country, west coast of Africa. In 5 short years, we developed economic zones and ports for mineral containers and general cargo. That's just the tip of the iceberg. For instance, apart from building SEZ for the timber, we created an ecosystem for it to flourish, developing logs through third-party contractors and sustainable plantations, to building a log with an unloading and storage facility for end-to-end logistics. Also organised trade shows for hosted companies to showcase market. It's Africa.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Mehta, and good evening, distinguished panelists, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to my fellow viewers, depending on which part of the world you're viewing it. So I think this video gives a fair idea about ARI. So we are basically industrial ecosystem builders, and we are currently developing about 6 special economic zones in Africa. And as far as India is concerned, I have good linkage with the lot of industrial. I was associated with SEZs before I moved to Africa, and I think SEZs and the export promotion zones are doing fantastic job. But when you talk about, when you are looking at 5 trillion economy, then you have to look beyond Africa. You need to create multinational companies in India, which can push the economy. Okay, but unfortunately, when I see that India has a policy of definitely look east and look west policy, but look east, we see the countries like Vietnam, like my friend Mr. Shikant said, countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, Cambodia, very difficult to compete. And when we say look west, we straight away jump to US. And then this government has a look Middle East policy, but then again, that does not go beyond Saudi Arabia. So Africa has always been a blind spot. And this is my biggest concern. And what I'll say is, when you are talking about rising opportunities, then you cannot ignore the continent, which has 1.2 billion, which is a population of 1.2 billion, and whose landmass, which is same as the population is same as India, and whose landmass is 10 times of India, which means it's home to a lot of natural resource. So you cannot ignore this if you want to be a 5 trillion economy. But again, like I said, unfortunately, what I see today is this subject of rising opportunity is looked through two lenses. One is the China-US trade war and the friction that China is having with a lot of countries because of the South China Sea issue. And the second is the lesson from COVID, which talks about decentralization as far as the economy is concerned. So we have completely missed out on the opportunities which Africa is throwing. Okay, we are not so our policy is more of it's we say is reactive rather than being proactive. And there was an Africa growth story before. This is now the second wave coming. In the first wave, the Chinese took over a good benefit of that. As a result, you see there are 10 million Chinese in Africa versus only 3 million Indians, which is there. So not needless to highlight that the remittance which is coming because of the jobs, which is because of the Indians working abroad, is huge. Is close to about $69 billion, which is a good forex coming into India. So when I talk about the opportunity being missed, it is basically in the form of AFTA. If you know AFTA is a African Continent Free Trade Area Act. If you look at the American continent, North American continent, you have US, Canada, and Mexico, meeting their own requirements. Up to 60% of their requirement is met between the three countries. Even if you see EU, the EU countries, they 70% of their requirement is met through internal trade. But when it comes to Africa, Africa is hugely dependent on import, and inter-Africa trade is only 17%. And a lot of countries have taken a benefit of this, and those who had Africa-focused approach. So if you talk about, again, I'll give a comparison with your neighbors, China. In 2001, both India and China, their trade with Africa was close to about $7 billion. Today, it is about $60 billion between India and Africa, whereas it is $180 billion plus between China and Africa. So we are completely missed out on that. So this is what we say, we have to look at the continent. We have to look at, if you talk about the real continent, leaving aside the Maghreb countries, leaving aside Morocco, Tunisia, or Egypt, the real Africa itself has a population of over 1.1 billion. It's a 2.5 trillion economy, which can be tapped. And then at the same time, we have to remember there are 200 million youth which are looking for jobs. So this is a very important statistics in terms of 200 million jobs. I'll come back to this again. So what important is what is to be done. So if you see the the approach that we need to have, we need to remember that we need to see that the youth there is benefiting from that. And the second is we need to be very clear that AFTA is a new disruptor and how we are going to tackle this. So important is that we work along with Africa and look at the opportunities which are there. Try to look for opportunities. For example, I'll give you example of Gabon. What you've done in Gabon, a small country in West Central Africa. There we have a special economic zone which is up and running for last 10 years. We are exporting about 2,100 crores every year of exports there, around 2,000 TEUs of containers exported from there. And we have close to about 150 plus investors or the manufacturers, out of which about 50 plus are from India. So here I would like to give example of Greenply. So Greenply invested close to about $10 million in Gabon. And what they're doing is their Indian factory, they are a major manufacturer of plywood. The Indian factory needs veneer to make the plywood, which is not available in India and is imported from Malaysia, China, Indonesia. But what they have done is they have put up an industry in Gabon. They become self-independent, contained in the sense that they do not have to depend on external sources. From there, they are supplying to their Indian unit, as well as they become a truly multinational by catering to multiple other countries. So we are saying we have to look at a different model, like what can be done, where first level of manufacturing can be done in India, and the second level of manufacturing can be done in Africa, so that the African youth also gets job. Second way what we have to look at is how the resources in Africa can be tapped, and first level of manufacturing can be done in Africa, and second level of manufacturing can be done in India. So I gave you example of green ply in terms of, like I said, they are closer to the resource. Manufacturing, the first level is done there, and the second level is done here in India. Then second example in case of a pharmaceutical company which is taking bulk drugs from here and doing the formulations in Gabon. So similarly, we should look at opportunities and see how synergy is there, and that would mean a win-win situation both for India and for Africa, and then only we'll be able to capture, reach the 5 trillion economy. So now, how can this be done? Okay, so we see there's a lot of problems that Indian entrepreneurs face in going to Africa. So we can be a partners where we are creating investment opportunities for the Indian entrepreneurs or industrialists, but at the same time, something government will have to do. For example, G2G, government to government, the relationship has to be there, because in Africa it works very well. Second, we need to look at the custom duty. For example, when veneer is manufactured in Gabon, it comes to India, it is the custom duty is 10%, whereas whatever is coming from China or from other Asian countries, they're covered under ASEAN and they're only paying 5%. So the real entrepreneurs, there are about 40 entrepreneurs producing veneer, they have to actually pay more import when they are buying it for their own material. So we need to look at how the custom duty can be waived off on the import which is being used by Indian manufacturers for their self-use. So this is another aspect. Third is the Indian banks have to open up. My own loan got rejected because I was based in Africa. So when Indian entrepreneurs are moving to Africa, they do not have a business history. They're looking for support, but the Indian banks are not open to it. So it becomes very difficult for them to really, take care of the capex and the opex, which is their link to the industries. Industrial development. Fourthly is the double taxation treaty. India need to be proactive in signing double taxation treaty with the African partners. Then only the Africa and India trade can progress. Then lastly, I'll talk about, a lot of, like I said before, a lot of Indians go to Africa. So, and they're sending the money back. And while they're working there, their employers, they're paying the local security, social security, like we have PF or ESI, they're paying there. But once they leave the job and come back to India, that money gets wasted, that does not get credited to their account. So there has to be a relationship, because this is possible because African countries already have such ties with a lot of European countries. So if that can be worked out when they worked, if the Indian workers, they spend 3 to 5 years in abroad in Africa, if that, whatever the social security share, if that can be credited to their account, that would make fantastic. That would help in bringing back the money and also help them in the long run. So with this, I will say, there are other opportunities that we are, trying to capture in Africa. For example, we are developing a special economic zone in Benin, which is more focused on textile and which is more focused on cashew processing. Then we are looking for other, industries which can meet the local demand. And like I said, under AFTA, which would be a major disruptor, what is happening is 54 countries have signed an agreement. They're coming together to see how trade barriers can be imposed on the import which is happening into Africa, and how within the Africa can act as one country, and the whatever produced of one country can be sent to another country without any custom duty, or the free movement of the labor. So all these things have been, there are 30 countries which have already ratified this agreement, and it is expected by end of this year or probably the mid of next year they should get implemented. So what I'm saying is there's an opportunity which is coming, and if we miss this bus, then again we'll be at a disadvantage. So with this, I'll say, Arise is giving a lot of opportunities to Indian investors, Indian entrepreneurs to come. And what we do is we handhold them through the complete process. Okay, and we help them support them in setting up an industry. We also, because a lot of these countries are French-speaking countries, and the Indian entrepreneurs, they do not know, this, they are not well versed with the local language. So we go beyond not just supplying land, we also look at the raw material assurance for these countries. And the objective is how the return on investment, whatever has been invested by the entrepreneurs, that can be recovered in 2 to 3 years maximum. So with this, I would like to play, I ask the IT team to play the second video, which is there.
Thank you so much. I think it's restarting. Thank you so much, Jasveerji, for that wonderful presentation. Hello. Thank you so much, Jasveerji, for that wonderful presentation. I definitely vouch for you that there exist tremendous opportunities in Africa. In fact, I happened to visit to East Africa last year, and I visited few SEZs. Without taking much time, I'm now going to request Shri R. Mutturaj, Development Commissioner of Sri City SEZ, to make his presentation, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible, sirs?
Audible, sir, audible.
Yeah. So, dear Ravi Chandra Reddy and Mr. Hidendra Mehta, TG sir, EPC for EOU SEZ, Single sir, and my senior colleague, TC Visakhapatnam, and other panelists and dear friends. My job has been made very easy because almost all previous speakers have talked about Sri City. I am thankful to the Sri City management and my previous DCs who have done a very excellent job for all these pricings. Just almost all points have been covered by Single sir and my senior colleague Ram Mohan Reddy Garu. So just I will rush through the infrastructure facilities available in Sri City as a whole. As all of you know, the Sri City, the project was started in 2008. For the SEZ, it was notified in 2007. So far the total investment has been close to $4 billion and export had exceeded around $500 million. And as all of you know, it is nearer to Chennai within 55 kilometers and with a spread over of around 7,500 acres with seamless connectivity by road, air and seaport. Like TG sir was telling, so we have a special economic zone, TTZ, and a free trade warehousing zone, as well as an electronic manufacturing cluster. This makes the Sri City as a unique and one of the reasons for the success of the Sri City as well. And it is home to around 187 companies from 27 countries. You name any MNC or any brand, it is there, like TVS, Murugappa Group, West Pharma, NGC Transmission, Excellent of Pharma. It has come just 2 weeks back. Isuzu, Mondeleza, Alstom, Cobalco, Foxconn, etc. And specific to SEZ, as I was mentioning, the SEZ was notified in 2007 and the export started straight away from 2009 onwards. And right now we have units from the various sectors which I will mention, and there are about 38 units. So this is the benefits which have been widely covered by Singhal sir as well as my senior colleague. Right now we have around 38 units and 35 units are functional and 3 units are under various stages of construction and implementation. The investment has been around 5,300 crores with employment of 4,200 crores with the total export till now. Last year it is around 8,800 crores. And out of the total 38 units, we have units from almost all sectors of the economy: engineering, chemical and pharmaceuticals, ceramics and abrasives, food and agro industry, non-conventional and solar energy, textiles and garments, plastics and rubber, electronics, trading and services. We have units from all sectors. And it is very strategically located. You know, it is very nearer to Chennai and Pondicherry, as well as we are also closer to Hyderabad and Bangalore. And it is well connected, and we have around 4 major ports within the range of 100 kilometers. Chennai port, Ennur port, Kattupalli, as well as Kirtipatnam port is all within the range of 100 kilometers. And all of you know it is Chennai International Airport is there, and we have also Tirupati Airport, which is just 75 kilometers from Sri City. So this gives the map of the Sri City as a whole, where you have industrial estate and then TTZ, a residential complex, and the water bodies and the villages around us. So coming to the infrastructure, we have a well-developed social as well as physical infrastructure. Coming to the physical infrastructure, we have fully furnished Development Commissioner's office. We have a very good road network, and then water treatment plant. We provide water 24/7 treated water, and we have a common effluent treatment plant. And power also, we have a substation, and which is supplemented by solar power. That's also we give 24/7. And coming to the social infrastructure, we have very good medical facilities, school, and there are 2 universities. One is Kriya University. It is all developed by the all corporate people involving the former RBI governor, Mr. Raghuram Rajan. And we have triple IT as well. And we also have a very good residential facilities, apartments for the executives, and the dormitory facilities for the workers. And we have also a resort and a guest house as well. So as mentioning in the beginning, you name any brand or any MNC and the Indian MNCs, it is there in Sri City. So these are all some of the major industries. And during the lockdown, almost all units have started functioning, and we hope the stabilization of the manufacturing in the coming months. And last year, our export was around 3,792 crores. It was around 200% increase over the previous year. So mainly to the FTWZ exports to a great extent. We hope to achieve this same in the years to come in the current finance year as well. And I am happy to inform in this COVID time, Sri City has finalized 2 projects. One is a pharma company where they have the R&D unit in IIT Incubator Center. And we have given the approval 2 weeks back, and they are going to start the project next month. And one more unit, the engineering unit, is in the final stages of the finalization. Thank you very much. If there are any queries, I will be willing to answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. I think we have a video also, short video of Sri City running as a case study. IT team, can we run that?
Welcome to an emerging smart city that is fast becoming a springboard for sustainable growth and a hub for global industry. Welcome to Sri City, India's most preferred business destination. Sri City features world-class infrastructure integrated with smart technology and fast and efficient services. Sri City is developing into a vibrant social community due to its well-planned urban setting. Use of clean energy, smart systems, and the integrated work, live, learn, play model. Located on the border of Andhra Pradesh with Tamil Nadu, 55 kilometers from Chennai, along National Highway, Sri City is connected to the major metros of India through the Golden Quadrilateral Highway network. Sri City is well connected to 2 international airports and 4 seaports, all within a 100-kilometer radius. A broad gauge railway line runs alongside the national highway, adding to the connectivity options of Sri City. Sri City's industrial zone comprises of a multi-product special economic zone, a domestic tariff zone, and a free trade and warehousing zone. Sri City's electronics manufacturing cluster is fully approved by the Government of India as per the EMC scheme of 2012, enabling its units to claim MSIPs and many state government benefits. Foxconn, the world's largest electronics manufacturer, and a host of other companies are operational within Sri City's EMC. More than 50,000 skilled and semi-skilled people currently work in Sri City. Apart from Isuzu and Foxconn, other conglomerates that employ a large workforce are FMCG giants, Colgate-Palmolive and Unicharm. Food and beverage majors such as PepsiCo, Cadbury, Kellogg's, Lavazza and others, and industrial MNCs such as Gobelco, Alstom and Metal One. To jumpstart operations efficiently, a dedicated 130,000 square feet business centre with all modern facilities is available. The business centre is also suitable for IT, ITES, BPO and other service-oriented businesses. Sri City's state-of-the-art infrastructure has been designed by world-renowned urban infrastructure experts. Sri City has been a champion of environmental sustainability since its inception. Over 1 million trees have already been planted and over 10 million will be planted. With all of these initiatives, Sri City is well on its way to becoming a carbon neutral zone. A variety of options for long and short duration stays are available at Sri City. Fresh and sumptuous culinary treats are on offer at the food court and community dining centre. The medical centre provides emergency as well as day-to-day healthcare needs. The centre encompasses a general care facility operated by SIMS hospitals, which includes an emergency and trauma care centre, a children's specialty clinic run by Kanchi Kamakoti Child's Trust Hospital, and a specialist eye care facility operated by Shankara Netralaya. Sri City has dedicated 500 acres for catering to the educational needs of the entire region with a dedicated education zone. Chinmaya Vidyalaya, the renowned CBSE school, is operational within this education zone. Indian Institute of Information Technology, a premier engineering and research institute, is also operational, while IFMR, one of India's premier business schools, has set up its flagship campus in Sri City. Sri City is placed on the postal map of India with its own post office and PIN code. A full-fledged police station offers a sense of safety and security to all locals in and around Sri City. Sri City has a fire station located on Central Expressway. Major commercial banks have set up their branches in Sri City. Sri City has operational helipads at multiple locations within Sri City. Amenities like swimming pools, contemporary fitness centres, a club and a host of other recreation facilities are planned within Sri City. We welcome you to experience the world-class business environment of Sri City. A world of opportunities await you at Sri City. We invite you to be a part of India's best integrated business city and scale your business to new heights.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mutturaj. I think Sri City indeed is a role model for SEZs in India, and it has actually set a great example for others to follow. That goes without saying. So quickly, I think we have already run past our time of this session. So I request the remaining speaker, my friend Indranil and Loknath Nadarji, to kindly be brief as they can be. So now I'm going to invite my friend Indranil Das Gupta, CEO of Ativo Economic Zone Private Limited, to make his address. Indranil.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Hitendra. Thank you. And it was a great pleasure to be amongst this distinguished panel. In my speech, I will touch upon the general characteristics of SEZs, their impact in general on a country's socio-economic growth, and the perception of these zones by policymakers. Now, SEZs go by many names and come in many varieties and sizes. They have in common that, as said by Mr. Singhal, that within a defined parameter, they provide a regulatory regime for businesses and investors distinct from what normally applies in the broader national or subnational economy where they are established. The most common types of SEZs are free zones, which are essentially separate customs territories. In addition to relief from customs duties and tariffs, most of these zones also offer fiscal incentives in terms of business-friendly regulations with respect to land access, permits and licenses, or even employment rules, and administrative streamlining and facilitation. Infrastructure support in SEZs is naturally another very important feature, especially in developing countries where basic infrastructure for business outside these zones can be poor. The continued enthusiasm for SEZs and economic zones among governments around the world belies the impact of these zones, which is often mixed. In developing economies that follow export-oriented development strategies, there are many examples of highly successful SEZs that played a key role in the industrial transformation. Now, where economic zones around the world have successfully generated investment, jobs, and exports, which have generated the benefits which have accrued in benefits to the broader economy, a key part of their regulations in SEZs have mostly focused on the labor side, including employment arrangements. This is complemented by the fact that one of the key rationales for SEZ development is to generate employment. Zones are generally considered an effective tool for job generation. Worldwide, an estimated 90 to 100 million people are employed directly in SEZs and free zone programs, and the indirect impact is also very, very substantial. Now, even when there may not be formal exemptions from national rules, such as those on health and safety, less restricted controls and limited enforcement within the zones have often meant that standards within zones have differed significantly from the rest of these economies. Now, despite these concerns, SEZ remained top of the mind for industrial and investment policymakers, mainly for two reasons. First, the relative ease of implementing business reforms through SEZs in countries where governance is relatively weak and where the implementation of reforms nationwide is difficult. SEZs are often seen as the only feasible option or as the first step. Yet, developing countries that have made progress towards an attractive investment climate also continue to rely on SEZs. When such progress fails to deliver better competitiveness or rankings or expected foreign investments, SEZs may still be seen as a necessary complement to the investment promotion packages and as a signal of the country's progress in building an attractive investment climate. India is, of course, a case in point in this case. Second, the perceived low cost of establishing an SEZ. A key rationale for SEZ is a low cost in relative terms, compared that with of building equivalent industrial infrastructure in the entire economy. But even in absolute terms, the upfront investment cost in an SEZ can still be contained. Capital expenditure for the development of an SEZ, especially basic zones offering plots of land rather than hyper-modern plug-and-play zones, are often related to basic infrastructure connections to the zone perimeter. Additional costs, mostly outsourced to a private development company, are then incurred gradually as the zone attracts investors and develops individual plots. With little comparable cross-country data on SEZs, the measurement of their performance and impact must largely be based on case studies. Case studies such as that of the Gabon Free Zone, as told by my colleague earlier, can provide evidence on the potential for SEZs and economic zones to contribute significantly to economic growth and development of a country, and insight on the characteristics that make them successful. The expected economic contributions from zone development are also both direct and indirect. The direct benefits include FDI attraction, job creation and income generation, export growth and diversification, and foreign exchange earnings. Indirect benefits are rather more difficult to define and measure, yet they are an essential component of the sustainable development impact of zones beyond their countries. Now, these include supplier linkages beyond the zones and the indirect employment they create, as well as the induced income and jobs resulting from zone-based wages being spent in the surrounding economy. Ultimately, the combination of direct and indirect economic contributions should result in higher economic growth. China is a case in point. Enhanced regional economic cooperation, including through cross-border and international cooperation zones, is another dynamic benefit of zones that can be important, especially in the context of development of regional chain values. And this value chains, and this becomes essential in today's world especially. In many countries, zone programs account for a major share of exports, particularly manufactured exports. In Asia, for example, SEZs are credited with more than 60% of the Philippines exports. In Bangladesh, just 8 publicly owned zones account for about 20% of the country's exports of goods. In West Asia and North Africa, a number of countries rely heavily on oil and gas exports. Some African governments have used SEZs as a part of their export promotion strategies, backed by trade preferences. Gabon is a case in point. EPZs have played a pivotal role in Kenya's export strategy, for example, enabled by the African Growth and Opportunity Act by attracting foreign investors in the apparel industry and orienting them to target exports to the United States. Finally, to conclude, there is a wide consensus that SEZs are best considered options now for relocation of industries, and today in India, such opportunities are huge. These are being explored by different investors, small to large across the countries, and we can personally testify for this from the SEZs operated by us, especially in the AMRL SEZ in Tuticorin. Thank you, Hitendra. I am open to questions in the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Indranil, for confining to the timelines requested to you. Now, last, I think I'm going to request Mr. Lokanathan Nadar, who is business head of origins by Mahindra World City, Ahmedabad, to address the audience.
Thank you so much, Hitendra. I think when you are especially the last speaker with such kind of, heavy industrial developer players of special economic zones, I will be left with hardly anything. And when I see Mr. Singhal sitting there, Mr. Reddy sitting there, and having, Dr. Alok sitting there, and all the co-colleagues who I have been, seeing especially the special economic zone side, right from the policy chapter to the Act of 2005, and thereafter the rules and whatever shapes it has been taking, all the while. So today, especially being the last speaker, if I say it is Mahindra World City and Mahindra World City, Chennai and Jaipur, I think that should suffice for most of the audience on the panel and everybody else, right? So I'm sure everybody would have had one chance at least to be part of our park, on either side, either to understand what the development is, how the development is, rather, if not otherwise, then at least to see, okay, what is the mistake that these guys are doing, at least we should not repeat it. Okay. In all sides, I think Mahindra World City, Chennai and Jaipur has amply given a case study and also taken shapes, various shapes. Singhal Saab will see, right, I have been sitting next to Mr. Mittal Saab when we were designing the policies and, right. So we have taken all the shapes. So thank you very much. Greetings from Mahindra Group to all the panelists, members and people connected from various locations in India and cross-border, Jasbir on the other side, and support teams behind the scene and all the people across. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. So instead of, pondering to what the SEZs and all, I will just take 2 minutes. I will ensure that it is not more than 2 minutes, Hitendra, wherein, I want to just discuss about where the globalization term is taking us, because the term is being scanned again now with the unprecedented rise of COVID also, because let us not exempt ourselves from COVID also. So, I just wanted to bring in that flavor, because I knew being a last guy, everybody would have spoken about SEZ. But yes, it is giving a lot of opportunities for everybody here. COVID, where we know that global economy is expected to shrink sharply by 3+%. And this is no longer a virus, because suddenly it has turned or taken a shape of an economic war, and it has been, taking various debates. Every second day, the invite is there for any webinar to speak about how we are going to recover from COVID and how things are shaping up. So definitely, it is not a pure virus that will be discussed at labs and doctors' clinic anymore. And how the consumers and industries will react to such kind of situations. Whether post-pandemic stress will impact the shared economy or classical conditions will lead to more business. It has definitely seen, the stock market is showing pharma going towards north and everybody else going otherwise. And in that sense, it really gives me an advantage of looking at both sides, because being an industry partner, having more than 20 plus sectors that we are present across more than 100 plus countries. And when we discuss among the senior management, we do see a lot of movements happening in various businesses and taking various shapes. So whether demand will fall due to lack of purchasing power, or supply or services will be hit as enterprises shut. And most importantly, what decision should business and government take to reduce the impact? That's a huge thing. I'm sure everybody on the government side are also shouldering this tough situations today. So the biggest question arising is how the pandemic will impact globalization. So whether globalizations, we have been talking since 2000, the day when something called as SEZ and EPZs were coined to all the banking industries. I remember carrying my luggage and going banks to banks to explain them what a special economic zone means. It is never a foreign territory, it's only delineated area, and explaining them the definitions and why globalization is so very important. So when we see today Brexit and US America first policy, that today we see US China trade war, making it evident that not all countries and societies are benefiting from globalization. And the impact, many countries over dependent on trade are already facing the negative impact of globalization. And thus today everybody is speaking about switching imports and domestic production. Dr. Alok Vardhan has very clearly said that if everybody wants to export, who is going to import? Somebody has to import, then only you are ready for exporting, right? So it works in that sense. So for instance, Japan has offered $2.2 billion to firms shifting production out of China, out of which $2 billion is manufacturing shifting back to Japan, and $0.2 billion for those opting for other countries. Every country wants to protect its own citizens and economics. Now, this can have a huge impact on countries depending on exports. So COVID-19 will transform globalization structurally. It is definitely going to transform everything structurally. So as per, today when we see that how China is shaping up, everybody is speaking about China. And China currently stands at the cusp of trade war, not only with US, but almost everybody who is in neighbor. So which already is evident with companies wanting to mobilize their manufacturing hubs to in and around China and to India. Definitely India is benefiting out of it. So India has been preparing to ensure a strong supply chain management and better infrastructure, along with India's existing relations with other countries. It's a golden opportunity to become a new manufacturing hub to the world. So we have been creeping, rather, the way we announce ourselves for special economic zones. But yes, as Singhal Saab also said that, we would have achieved 25% more had that MAT not introduced. Yes, there has been certain challenges, but definitely, as Mr. Rama Mohan also showed in the presentation, that we have been growing year on year. So it was not only about VSEZ, but yes, overall as an SEZ in the country, we have been growing. The figures has been tickling upwards. So that's the best thing. And what we are seeing is we are addressing some of the points, though some of the points still remains to be addressed in a more faster manner, like identification of key manufacturing outputs. We are working on it. We still need to focus ourselves, whether it is lithium batteries, whether it is storage, whether it is others. How are we going to give them a focused environment to this country, which can actually bring in all those people who are manufacturing, who are looking from German, who are looking from France, who are looking from Korean to come inside our country. Whether it is providing tax incentives, land acquisitions potentials, we have announced a very big land bank, a single window clearance. We have successfully done it, but at some point it is window within window. But yes, we will ensure that we change that as well. Over the period of time, positively, we have definitely changed a lot. Improving the secondary debt market and boosting government spendings on R&D in critical areas. Now, these are key decisions which we have been working right from the beginning, but definitely needs more focus now, because now is the opportunity where it is not China which is standing on the other side. It is also other companies who are looking at India. So if we are able to tie up all these things in a faster pace, maybe we have a better chance. Because today it is not about we fighting with within the zones or competing within the zones. We are actually competing with various other neighboring countries also, which are opening up using the same philosophy of special economic zones, using the same philosophy of ensuring that there is a tax benefit, there is a direct tax benefits, and there is indirect tax benefits. So how we will be better positions ourselves. So like sir said about the recent report about UNTAD, obviously, India there ranks number 3 in terms of providing a huge market for everybody. So this market is going to be very, very important to us. So are we looking at only exports, or can we just relax something more, being in a SEZ itself, which is an ecosystem, and ensuring that the market element is addressed? If that is going to be there, definitely this will open up a huge amount of boost for not only 1 or 2 developers, but all the large scale SEZ developers who have already having a huge land bank. So we should definitely look at that. So Mahindra World City Chennai and Jaipur stands tall as an example for success of this policy, and have been housed to more than 200 units from 20+ countries, successfully operating from both the zones. And as everybody knows, Mahindra World City Chennai is established in 2002, is India's first integrated business city and corporate India's first operational SEZ. It is jointly promoted as a PPP between Mahindra Group as well as TIDCO, which is located in NH32, spread across 1,550 acres. MWC Chennai is India's first IGBC Gold Stage 1 certified green township, and has multi-sector, special economic zones, domestic tariff area, and co-located social and residential infrastructure. And today, I will be proud to say that today there is no industrial space left at Mahindra World City Chennai at all. So that's the kind of interest which people have shown, and also the co-located walk-to-work concept, which really enabled our projects to open up during this COVID time. Almost all the units were able to successfully operate during this time. Today, it has more than 65+ companies with 40,000+ direct employment alone. Mahindra World City Jaipur is promoted as a PPP between Mahindra Group as well as Rajasthan State Industrial Development and Investment Corporations, RICO, which provides an ideal destinations of choice for companies looking to establish their base in North India. And it really enables us that people from Government of India or otherwise who would really want to just show some delegation, something which is immediately available close to Delhi, then it's just a drive away. And it really helps for us to also a chance to host all of y'all. Pleasure has been always us. Located off at National Highway 8 and within the DMIC influence zone, it is spread across 3,000 acres. This project is a global benchmark in sustainable development and has multi-product special economic zones spread over 1,500 acres. Thanks for the reduction of the area, it really enabled us to have 1,500 acres as our multi-product SEZ, and a domestic tariff area of 1,000 acres and 500 acres for specially planned for co-located social infrastructure. We have currently 90+ companies there and more than 12,000+ direct employment. So we have been first to start almost all the 95 units, even in Jaipur, during the first unlocking period which was allowed. So SEZ thereby stands ready for the Make in India and Make for the World initiative of the government. It is definitely there. ASSOCHAM has been conducting the Special Economic Zone Summit for the last 13 years, with all efforts of the developers, policymakers, and associations and chambers of associations. SEZ has been steadily making way to the new India that we all look forward for. Many economies are moving towards the tax-free and skilled zone concepts now for efficient production and supply chain management. So that's the reason I said we are not competing with other Indian zones anymore. We are competing with Indonesia, we are competing with Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, etc. at SEZ zone level. So we have been giving comparisons about how Mahindra World City, Jaipur or Chennai is comparing to a zone in Vietnam, a zone in Malaysia, a zone in Indonesia. That itself places that how efficiently this policy has enabled all the SEZ developers' product in the global benchmarking. This maturity of concept, open discussions, deliberations, belief and expanded visions could further lead to transformation of the skill-based projects. So skill-based SEZ. We are very happy to say that within Mahindra World City Jaipur, we have a skill university also establishing its campus. That is really good to see that, with multiple amount of courses which really get designed in consultations with industries already operating within Jaipur. So do we see that there will be something more to come because of this COVID and this transformation? Can we also call it as, because smart city is also a lot of coined subject which is there, whether it is smart industrial city, do we call smart industrial city, free zones, do we call? I think if new name is going to give some transformation, then no problems, we can definitely adopt something like that. Government has been working on 3 pillars of reform, perform and transform. So SEZ has really crossed both the junctures of reforms and perform. Now we can have some transformation also, wherein we can add up all those left out things which are there, which we see that as a single policy, which Mr. Srikanth also mentioned, that you are missing out on some of these things. Can we just during the transformational phase add those things and come out positively? I look forward to you, sir, Singhal sir, to take it up, as well as Dr. Alok Vardhan sir, to do that. So with all the deliberations with industry leaders today on this panel, we can say that SEZs are proved to be a crucial part of India's domestic, industrial and foreign policy, and would continue to deliver on the expectations of job creations and exports. So today, I can definitely say there are more than 1 lakh people employed out of my Chennai, direct and indirect, and more than 50,000 people employed directly and indirectly from Mahindra World City, Jaipur. That itself as a two project, if that is a testimony. And today, when we have more than 200 projects which are operational in having a lot of manufacturing facilities, that goes into multiples. So we at Mahindra World City would welcome any new investments and all new investments, and would assure you to have a best partner experience in the country. Thank you so much for providing this opportunity. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, Loknathan ji. I think with this we conclude this marathon session, where we had, I think, 10 distinguished speakers who have been with us since 3 o'clock afternoon, and now we are at 5:30. And I think this much delay is expected when you have so many star speakers and people with experience of the likes of Alok Vardhan Chaturvedi Saab and Singhal Saab and other distinguished persons. So now I think without any further discussion, I think we have to move to the open house session, and there will be question and answer sessions which will be taken by Dr. Singhal. My thanks to all the learned panelists and distinguished speakers. They are welcome to stay back, but then this session we are concluding with our sincere thanks from ASSOCHAM and from the SEZ Council of ASSOCHAM. My chairman also is present, Shri Ravi Sanna Reddy Saab also, and he is here since 3 o'clock. My compliments and my thanks to him as well. Now I think we can move to next session. Singhal Saab, we have received questions from many participants. So I will be now raising questions, and will be then requesting you to respond to those questions, sir.
All right, fine. Please start.
So the first question I have received is that when SEZs have been performing so well in exports and providing much needed jobs, why has the government removed the incentives that were offered when the SEZ scheme was announced in 2005 or 6? This they're talking about exemptions from income tax, MAT, and dividend distribution tax. There should be a one window clearance for SEZ that also deals with state governments. One is made to go to and run around for this work. We wish to encourage Make in India, and this can become a winner in SEZs if government decides that it will make it possible. So it's basically ease of doing the ease of single window operations and some policy changes that have been done midway.
Yes, Hitender, you see, basically when we are talking about exemption part, there are two components of the exemption part. One is exemption from indirect taxes. That is exemption from basic custom duty or other kind of duties on the import affected or taken from the domestic market, custom duty exemptions as well as IGST exemption. Now, that exemption continue to be there and will continue to be there. Let it be very clear when we are saying, maybe some of the people are not aware, they say that incentives have been withdrawn. So indirect tax exemption, that is exemption from duties of the customs or IGST, etc., that is continuing and will continue to be there. The only thing which has been withdrawn is exemption from the income tax. You see, you might be aware that exemption from income tax, that is not WTO compatible. It's a prohibited subsidy. That is the reason that it has been discontinued in the country. For the domestic exporter, it was discontinued in the year 2004. Earlier, it used to be called Section 80 HSC for the domestic exporter. It was discontinued in 2004. For the EOUs and the STPI, it was discontinued in 2011. For the asset developer, it has been discontinued from 2017. And for the asset unit, it has been discontinued for the units which are being approved after 1st of April 2020. That is the reason that it being WTO incompatible, this income tax exemption has been discontinued. But those SEZ which became operational prior to 1st of April 2017 and those SEZ units which have been approved prior to 31st of March 2020, they will continue to get income tax exemption as is admissible in the SEZ Act.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. There's one question they're asking, is there any SEZ for MSME in and around Hyderabad or in Andhra Pradesh? I think this is a very general question.
You see, basically the question is relating to operation of MSMEs in the SEZ. And let me tell very categorically that SEZ scheme does encourage SMEC units to come and operate in the SEZ. On the contrary, for MSMEs, this is a real useful scheme because the small units, they come and they start operating straightway. They get the approval from the approval committee meeting. They get the land allocated or the STF allocated straightway. And when it's a STF, as I stated earlier also, it's a plug and play facility. They have the electricity, they have got the water, they have got the security, they have got the infrastructure, they have got the custom clearance. Everything is there and they can start operating. And let me tell you, as I seen from my experience as a development commissioner, that more than 80% units which are operating in the SEZs, they are MSME units. And in fact, even if you compare the EOU scheme, in the EOU scheme, there is a clause that a EOU can operate provided it is making a minimum investment of ₹1 crore in plant and machinery. Whereas in the SEZ, even this requirement of making investment of ₹1 crore, that is also not there. So SEZ scheme is a very good scheme for MSMEs.
Sir, small thing, sir. In Hyderabad, we don't have, sir, but in GMR, they're planning, sir, for MSMEs. They're planning to provide some MSMEs. This is for information sake, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhatikaji. One question is that for units which want to export in initial stages and later they want to sell in India after few years, what flexibility is available for the same? With Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme being in the current focus, there are many units which would like to have flexibility of changeovers. Is there anything envisaged in SEZ amendment in near future?
Yes, let me clarify, Hitendra, that in the SEZ scheme, there is no restriction on affecting sale in the domestic tariff area. Any unit which start operating in the SEZ, they can start making sale in the domestic tariff area from the day one itself. The only requirement in the SEZ scheme is that the unit has to be a positive NFE. So long as a unit is maintaining positive NFE requirement, they can affect sale in the domestic tariff area. Now, coming to second part, whether any change is planned. Yes, this is a very good question. As on today, when a SEZ unit is selling the goods in the domestic tariff area, then such goods are subjected to payment of full duty on the finished goods. That means if I'm making shirt and I'm selling shirt in the domestic market, I have to pay the duty which is applicable on the shirt. Whereas now the suggestion has been made and Department of Commerce is considering that when the goods are being sold from SEZ to DTA, then duties should be charged instead of on the finished product. The duty should be charged which is foregone on the inputs used. For example, if I'm selling the shirt, then instead of duty applicable on the shirt, whatever duties I have foregone, say in importing fabric or thread or buttons, that duty should be refunded back and they should be permitted. It's a revenue neutral proposal because in this particular case, whatever duty has been foregone by the government, that would be recovered, and simultaneously it will be beneficial to the units which are manufacturing, as they will not have to pay duty on the value addition carried out in the SEZs. And this would be a really good change, and specifically when we are talking about in the context of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Make in India, this is a desirable change, and this would also help in increasing bringing economy of scales in the SEZs. So this change has been envisaged. This, I believe, has been taken up by Department of Commerce with the Ministry of Finance, and I really hope that it comes at a faster pace.
Thank you so much, sir. I think this demand of the industry of charging duty on duty foregone basis, the duty on duty foregone basis has been long pending, I think it is high time that the government should take note of this and take quick action on this. There's one question. I think it says that in Sri City, do we get 100% tax exemption in first 5 years like it used to be there? I think the answer is no. If your unit is set up before 1st April 2020, then only it was eligible for the tax benefits. This period was extended for another couple of months, but then now it is not there, I'm sure. Now, one related question with this is, sir, there has been another issue, charging of duty on the finished goods. I think this question has come from a unit. This you have already addressed. I think this will require amendment in the SEZ Act. Now, there is another question, whether government is considering the sunset clause for another 2-3 years, looking at the present situation.
You see, as I had explained earlier also, that basically let's understand that exemption from income tax, that is a prohibited subsidy under WTO. On WTO scheme, the income tax exemption based on the export performance is not admissible, and that is the reason that the income tax exemption has been withdrawn gradually in the country. As I stated, from the domestic export rate was withdrawn, Section 80 HSC in 2004, for the EOU and STPIs in 2011, for the SZ developer from 2017, and for the SZ unit in 2020. But yes, I can see a point that in today's context, specifically post-COVID, when we have got 20,000 hectares of vacant land available with us, when we are looking for attracting investment for relocating the industries from other countries, we need to explore this possibility. Is it possible to extend this for another 2 years? That is, the units which become operational in the next 2 years, whether it is possible. Prima facie, it seems that yes, it's a WTO incompatible, but whether it is possible in this form or any other form, maybe after this, ASSOCHAM can take it up with Department of Commerce, and this could be examined.
The next question is, sir, if this income tax related exemptions are not being extended, so can the government consider giving investment linked incentives?
Yes, you must have seen that there have been a lot of discussion about giving the production linked incentive, and production linked incentive has been extended to some of the sectors, and there is talk about extending it to other sectors like textiles, leather, garment, and electronics, APIs, bulk drugs, etc. So when these kind of benefits are being given, I'm sure that this benefit, whatever is given, should be extended to SEZ units as well.
Okay, so the next question, sir, is why MEIS benefits are not being currently extended to SEZ units?
You see, that is incorrect that it is not being extended to SEZ. The benefit of MEIS as well as SEIS is admissible to both SEZ units and DTA units. In fact, earlier, prior to MEIS scheme, when there used to be schemes like focus product scheme, focus market scheme, those benefits were not admissible to SEZ units. But when this focus product and focus market schemes, these were replaced by MEIS, that the benefit of MEIS has been extended to SEZ also. But at present, the exports which have been done after 1st of April 2020, I believe that the applications are not being accepted on the DGFT portal. That is not only for the SZ unit, but even for the DTA units as well. I'm sure that this issue is under examination and consideration of the DGFT and Department of Commerce. But the benefit of the scheme per se is admissible to the SEZ units as well.
Thanks a lot, sir. Next question is a bit general question. So it says that how have SEZs performed so far? Do you think SEZ could have done better?
Yes, it's a pertinent question, how the SEZs have done so far. You see, the objective of the SEZs are increasing exports, increasing investment, increasing employment, and creating infrastructure. If you see on all the objectives, exports, which was around $5 billion in 2005, has gone to $112 billion last year. Employment, which was around 145,000 people, have gone up to more than 22 lakhs people, 2.2 million people directly, and indirectly is more than 3 times of that. And investment, which was less than $1 billion, around 4,500 crore rupees in the year 2005, has gone up to more than $75 billion. As on today, investment in the SEZ is around 5,70,000 crore rupees. And the infrastructure, if you see that which has been created specifically in the SEZs, that is wonderful. So if you see the parameters of all the objectives, we see that SEZs have done fairly well. Second part, whether it could have done better, yes, certainly it could have done better. The SEZ Act was created for providing long-term stability and continuity. That was the prime objective. And the exemption from MAT was provided as a part of the SEZ Act. We should have continued with the exemption from MAT. We discontinued exemption from MAT and DDT in 2011, and that has affected. And I'm absolutely of the personal opinion that if that would not have been there, if this exemption would not have been withdrawn, then the exports, which are $112 billion, would have been touching $200 billion. And that is also evident from the fact that export, which was $5 billion in 2005, went up to $87 billion in 2011. So 5 billion to 87 in 2011. And after the MAT has been withdrawn, it has gone up from 87 to $112 billion only in 6 years.
I think very well said, sir. In fact, if I was to share only the first quarter's export from SEZs, so in 2021, it has been 1,52,000 crores rupees of export from SEZs during this lockdown period. I mean, that is indeed a commendable performance of the SEZs. So the next question is, sir, whether the government should have a separate policy for manufacturing sector and service sector.
You see, I don't think that whether separate policy is required. SEZ scheme is a common policy and it's governed by the Act. And basically, as I stated in the beginning, also the first session, that all over the world, if you see, SEZs operate in a particular parameter. It's a bounded area. You get duty-free inputs. You get duty-free inputs of capital goods. You keep on making your exports or services, you're exporting. But yes, there are certain provisions which have been made applicable to SEZ units operating in the service sector, which needs to be looked into. Section 2Z provides that if any service is rendered from a SEZ unit to the DTA, then it will have to be against free foreign exchange only, whereas there's no such limitation on the manufacturing unit. And this does create a problem for the service unit, because prima facie, I have seen as a development commissioner that most of the service sector units, they are doing their export. Their exposure to the domestic market is very minimal. And even for this minimal exposure, they have to earn free foreign exchange. And in case they are not able to do it, Development Commissioner is left with no alternative but to take action under Foreign Trade and Development Regulation Act. I believe Section 2Z need to be amended on urgent basis so that this inability which is there on the IT sector units, that is done away with.
Thank you so much, sir, for your detailed response. The next question is on GST, basically. So, do you feel that some changes are required in GST law vis-a-vis SEZ or vice versa?
Yes, it's a very good question again. You see, again, SEZ scheme is the only one wherein ab initio exemption has been provided from the GST, either for import or domestic procurement. So that's a very good change in the context of SEZ. But yes, there are 2-3 areas relating to the GST which needs to be attended to immediately. One is when goods or services are being supplied from DTA to SEZ, then today the IGST could be exempted if these are supplied under bond or LUT, or in case the IGST has been paid, then the refund could be taken by the DTA supplier. Requests have been coming from the SEZ units repeatedly that in case it is a case of refund, then the refunds should be enabled to the SEZ unit based on the disclaimer of the DTA supplier. That becomes much more easier because SEZ units are located within SEZ. The refund they could coordinate, and DTA supplier many of the time says that I don't want to go into this problem of taking refund. As far as I'm concerned, please charge the duty and you complete the formalities of the refund. So I believe that option of taking refund of the GST in case he said IGST paid supplies from DT to SZ, that needs to be extended to SZ unit. This issue again has been taken up by Department of Commerce with the Ministry of Finance, and I believe when I was also part of the discussions at that time. There was a understanding, there was a appreciation of the fact that this needs to be considered. So I believe this is one issue which needs to be addressed. Second, when goods are supplied from SZ to DTA, then such goods are subjected to customs duty as well as IGST. Naturally, IGST could be paid once, not twice. But if we see the legal structure today, legally, when the goods are supplied from SZ to DTA, they are subjected to IGST twice. One as a part of custom duty and second as a part of the GST law, which definitely is an anomaly, which needs to be done away with quickly and needs to be done from the date when the GST was introduced. Again, this is one issue which has been taken up by the Department of Commerce with the Ministry of Finance, and I believe this needs to be resolved at the quickest possible. In addition to that, I also believe that there needs to be a complete integration of the GST system and the NSDL system, because the asset units, they do find it difficult when the goods are being supplied from SZ to DTA or from DTA to SZ, since there's a lack of integration, so the duty paid is not getting reflected on the GST system. So I think that again needs to be done at the quick.
I think on this aspect, I would tend to agree with Mr. Badiga's view that for GST refunds particularly, there should be dedicated GST staff for SEZs mainly. I mean,
I believe that the custom officers who are posted in the zone, they should be authorized to refund, as was the case earlier also when it was duty drawback and when it was being refunded. It was being refunded by the custom officers posted in the zone, and in fact that would be revenue beneficial also, because when the custom officer posted in the zone is doing it, he knows whether this unit is actually there in the asset unit. He knows whether this consignment has come or not. So I believe they need to be authorized. Ultimately, these custom officers are the IRS officers or the officers of the customs which have come on deputation from the customs department.
True, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I think we have only 5 more minutes left, and I'll take a couple of questions more. Other questions, if any participants they have, they can write to ASSOCHAM directly. We will be trying to respond to those questions if they are generic in nature. Sir, next question is, what could have been done to promote the manufacturing sector? I mean, what can be done to encourage the manufacturing further?
Yes, I think this is a very important aspect. In the context of SEZ, I think we need to specifically look into the concern of manufacturing sector, because the contribution of the manufacturing sector exports in the overall SEZ exports are gradually getting declined. As on today, the contribution of IT sector export, services sector export is 58%, and the manufacturing is 42%. And I believe there are 2 major areas. One is that when these manufactured goods are being sold from SEZ to DTA, then the duty, instead of being on the finished product, it should be duty foregone on the input use. And second is important aspect is that, you see, many times the manufacturing units, they are not able to utilize their capacity fully. They have got the surplus capacity. So they have been asking that when we have got the surplus capacity, at that time we should be permitted to do job work on behalf of the DTA unit for doing the job work for them and for sending it back to the DTA. As on today, SEZ units is permitted to do job work only for the export, not for sending it back. I think this needs to be amended. This facility needs to be provided. Necessary safeguards could be built in, and that again issue has been taken up by Department of Commerce with Ministry of Finance. If these 2 particular two issues are taken care of, I think it would certainly help manufacturing sector in the SEZ.
Mehtaji, I have a small question. Can I take it up, sir?
Yeah,
please.
Sure.
Sir, it's from unit, sir. They're asking whether the IGST paid by the SEZ unit on DTA sales, can they take credit? This is what is the question, sir?
GST duty paid by the SEZ unit.
On DTA?
Yeah.
On
yeah.
DTA sales, DTA sales.
That's I said, my understanding is that the credit could be taken by the DTA unit because the duty this is so. But I think we can discuss with the GST personnel again on this before getting a better clarity.
No, in this case, I think if it is the end consumer to which these supplies are being made, and here the IGST will be paid by the DTA unit only. So if it is intermediate product for them, they can take credit. Otherwise, it becomes a final cost.
Noted.
So I think with this we are done with the questions. Singhal sir, in your view, if you want to summarize, like who should invest in SEZ or whether SEZs are good for SMEs? I think these are the last couple of questions are taken. It's over to you, sir.
I had explained earlier also that specifically for the MSMEs, SEZ is a very good scheme, and because if you see if they go and set up a unit in the DTA, how many compliances are required? In fact, Hitendra, you know, I was discussing with you one of these days, and you listed out how many compliances are required to be done once you are operating in the DTA. And for the smaller unit, it becomes that much more very difficult. Whereas when you go and start operating in the SEZ, there's hardly any compliance requirement. You make an application, it comes up before the UAC, it is approved over there, it's an interministerial department, all the people are present there, approval is given, LOA is issued, you start operating, even the space allocation is also done there itself. So I believe for MSME it's a wonderful scheme, they can do it. And as far as what could be done for the asset scheme, I think we have discussed in detail that there are certain changes required, especially for the manufacturing and IT sectors. And with once these amendments are taken care, the asset exports could certainly be increased further.
I think thank you so much, sir, for taking up questions in great details. It is now time to call it a day. It is, I think, my responsibility also to sum up today's proceedings. Today's session, in this 14th International SEZ Summit, I think has been very, very constructive and very fruitful. We had views from regulators, we have views from Export Promotion Council, we had views from industry and the general units also. All that makes actually combined, they are the stakeholders of SEZ scheme. And at ASSOCHAM, we are here to support this cause of SEZs in the larger interest of increasing the economic activity in the country, and that actually helps increasing the GDP of the country as a whole. I think with these missionary spirit, ASSOCHAM has been consistently working for last over 14 years, and my sincere thanks to my chairman, Shri Ravindra Sanna Reddy, who has been there as a pillar of support always, and my previous chairmans also. They have been actually constantly contributing to take forward this cause. And my special thanks to Dr. L.V. Singhal. Without him, I think our summits are not complete. And it is his encouragement and support every year that we have been able to smoothly and successfully conduct all these summits in so many years. And my thanks to Shri Alok Vardhan Chaturvedi Sahab, Director General of Export Promotion Council for EOUs and SEZs, Shri Khan Badiga ji, my dear friend and panelist, fellow panelist speaker. My profound thanks to A. Rama Mohan Reddy Sahab, who made us visit Vishakhapatnam SEZ and tempted us to actually visit post-COVID situation normalize, and we'll definitely visit. And thanks to our overseas guests, Mr. Hugh Llewellyn from Admiral Group PLC UK, and Mr. Jasveer Singh, who made a very good presentation about opportunities in Africa, in African zones. And in fact, I can support his view also, because I had been to East Africa last year and visited a couple of zones in Kigali and Burundi also. And they have been coming up with zones of the size of more than 500 hectares. I was surprised to see the kind of development that was taking place there. And there are associations of the African unions also of special economic zones. And our thanks to Mr. R. Mutturaj, Development Commissioner, Sri City Special Economic Zone, and Mr. Indranil Das Gupta, CEO of Ativo Economic Zone Private Limited, and our friend Loknathan, another business head origins from Mahindra World City. And my special thanks to the team at ASSOCHAM, ably led by DS Rajoraji, and the other team members, particularly Koshal and Anil and other members of the team who had been actually since yesterday. They've been doing some testing rounds and making sure that everything goes smoothly. And in the end, my thanks to the president of ASSOCHAM, Hiranandani sir, and our Secretary General of the ASSOCHAM. And special thanks to all the partners of this event, supporters of these events, Arise Group and Hiranandani Group, Sri City, TCI, Ativo, Mahindras, and Centrum Legal. With this, we call it a day. Thank you so very much, and thanks to all the learned participants. It was a wonderful discussing with all of you. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Hitendra. Thank you, Srikant. Wonderful
Thanks,
talking
sir.
to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Loknath ji.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, sir.